Good evening. The regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, October 24th will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phone. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner McGurk?
Here.
Commissioner Perrine?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Here.
Mayor Cleveland?
Here.
Thank you.
Police Department Chaplain Pete Carter will now lead us in the invocation. Please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most holy and gracious, kind Creator, we come before you on today, thanking you for this opportunity to gather now to discuss those things would help to make our city better. We pray, oh God, that you would be with each and every one that serves here, that lives here, that visits here. May they find this place a place of peace, love, and joy. And may they go and tell others so that they might come and join in the fellowship that we might have here. We ask that you continue to bless our first responders, continue to keep everyone in your care while they're out there doing those things to help us be safe. And we shall forever give thy name the glory, the honor, and the praise. In your matchless name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing as Liz Jones, the president of the Canal Street Historical Business District, leads us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. And now a pause for peace. If you are a person of prayer, then pray to your God, please, for peace in the Middle East. If you are a meditator, please ask the higher calling of the universe to grant peace. Let us together seek peace. Amen. I'd like to welcome the Scouts of Troop 4443 who are here in the room tonight working on their Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. Thank you, Troop Leader, and thank you, Scouts, for coming tonight. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
Yes, sir. I have two changes. One is we would like to move item 7Q, and that is a special events. Consider the approval of the Shark Bite Expo Half Marathon and 5K along with the Feeding Frenzy 5K 2024 on January 13th and 14th, 2024. I would like to move that to item 8A. The second change is I would like to move item 9B to be right after this immediately for the city attorney to give you some report there.
Very good. Without objection, any other changes?
That's it. Thank you.
Very good. And now the city attorney will read ordinance 2326 for the Village Square as formerly or item 9B. Read that for title only, please.
Ordinance number 5623, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, rezoning 6 ± acres of land generally located along State Road 44, south of its intersection with Colony Park Road, approving the Village Square Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement, authorizing the mayor to execute the Village Square Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. If you recall, at the September 26th public hearing, there was a lot of discussion, and the developer requested that they have an opportunity to meet with the citizens. That meeting took place on October 20th. In order to meet our agenda deadlines, it's not enough time to take those items into consideration, so they have requested a continuance until November 28th City Commission meeting, and so we would need a motion to approve that.
Very good. We have a request by the applicant to continue until November what?
28.
November 28th. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, the motion
Thank you.
carries.
In accordance with Florida Statute 166.0413D, ordinance number 5623 for the Village Square Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement will be considered on November 28, 2023 at 6:30 PM in Commission Chambers here, 214 Sam's Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So all of those public participants who would like to speak on the record for that, be aware of that. That meeting is the one you want to not miss. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to announcements and presentations. We have a proclamation tonight recognizing the National American Indian Heritage Month. So at this time, would you please join me at the podium, Miss Jennifer Fox. She is the Vice Chairman of the Jane Shelton Daughters of the American Revolution. Please join the Commission and I at the podium. City of New Smyrna Beach proclamation recognizing November as the National American Indian Heritage Month, whereas the history and culture of our great nation has been significantly influenced by the American Indians and indigenous peoples, and whereas the contributions of the American Indians have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America, and whereas their customs, traditions are respected and celebrated as a part of the rich legacy throughout the United States. And whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and recognition was expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August of 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. And whereas in honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, community celebrations, as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historic activities have been planned. Now, therefore, I, Fred Cleveland, the mayor of the city of New Smyrna Beach, do hereby recognize this month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month in the city of New Smyrna Beach, and urge all of our citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 24th day of October, and I've signed it as your mayor.
Miss, can I have you step between Commissioners McGurk and Hartman here? And then you between Commissioner McGurk and Perine. Okay, all right. Bring it all together. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure now to invite the Honorable Will Roberts, our Volusia County tax collector, to the podium to give a presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, mayor, council, manager. I do want to talk to you today a little bit about the State of Florida PACE program. And what I mean by the word PACE, that is Property Assessed Clean Energy. And this is a program that's been around since 2010. Its intent is to offer easy access to financing to those that may not have the opportunity otherwise. So it's a good program in that respect. Its intent is good. You know, back in the day in 2010, those interest rates were very favorable at that time. So taking out a 30-year loan at one of those interest rates were favorable to the homeowner. So what this program is for is mainly for three things. There are other things that qualify, but the main three things are solar panels, windows, and roofing. Those are the main three things that happen in the state and in the county of Volusia. Here's where it gets interesting. So this is how this is financed. It's financed through a third-party company out of the state of California, usually, because they've had PACE for quite a while. But what it does is it goes on the tax bill. So you make one payment for the length of the term, 15, 20, 30 years, however long the term is, it goes on the tax bill as a non-ad valorem assessment. So even a totally exempt veteran who has their ad valorem tax exempt would have to end up paying this. So here's how the PACE program works. There's 4 main companies in the state of Florida that operate. Florida PACE Funding Agency is one of them, Green Corridor, Florida Resiliency, and there's one more. I think it's White Green, but it's Florida Green Finance Authority, excuse me. So we have approximately 4 companies within the state of Florida that operate as a local government. And I'll use that as a term, local government, because there's 4 ways to be determined a local government in the state of Florida. You're either a county, you're a city, you're a dependent special district, or you're a separate legal entity created by an interlocal agreement between this organization and the city and county which they operate. So here's my observations of the program and where it is right now. So first of all, interest rates are much different than they were back then. I've seen 8.9, 9.9, 10.49. So what that means, when you're making one payment over 30 years, you're going to end up paying more in interest than you actually financed. Let me repeat that. You'll pay more in interest than you actually financed. That's a huge burden for a lot of homeowners. So here's the first thing that's been going on since around December of last year. So in November of last year, this one company, Florida PACE Funding Agency, received a bond validation in Leon County. Now, if you know anything about the legal system and bond validations, pretty much bond validations are a rubber stamp. You hand them the paperwork, they say, okay, your bond is validated, they move forward. They don't carry a lot of weight other than what they're referred to as a bond validation. Well, in this bond validation, this company, Florida PACE Funding Agency, decided, let's put in there that we don't need an interlocal agreement with each city and or county that we operate with. Let's say that we got statewide jurisdiction. This will make it a lot easier for us to make assessments in the state of Florida. So that's what they did. And on that note, they've been going around the state of Florida and assessing outside cities and or counties that have an interlocal agreement. So just here in Volusia County, there are 5 cities that have an interlocal agreement with the PACE companies. It is Daytona Beach Shores, Port Orange, New Smyrna, Edgewater, and Orange City. So that's been going on around the state of Florida. We as property appraisers, tax collectors, cities, and or counties do not recognize that the bond validation supersedes the Florida statute, which is 16308, which makes them a separate legal entity as long as they got that interlocal agreement. That's the key. They have to have the interlocal agreement. Here's my other observation of the plan and the program that's going on. So as I mentioned, the interest rates right now are well up there. Like I said, 8.9, 9.9, I've even seen 10.49. In Ormond Beach, there was a home, single-family detached home, 2,000 square foot or less, had an asphalt shingle roof replaced. Almost $80,000 was financed to replace that roof for an asphalt shingle roof. Now, they don't have an interlocal agreement, so I don't have to put it on the tax bill. Per a court case that Florida PACE Funding Agency brought against me, we determined that I don't have to put it on the tax bill because they do not have an interlocal agreement. But had they won, had I had to put it on the tax bill, I would have been increasing their tax bill by $8,400 a year for the next 30 years. And if you know anything about roofs in the state of Florida and insurance companies right now, after 15 years, the insurance company may drop you if you don't get a new roof. So, you know, that's one of the caveats of this system. It should not, the term of the assessment should not outlive the useful use of the product, which in this case, after 15 years, they may have to get a new roof and still be paying on the prior roof. So another example that I have is in Edgewater, which I do have to collect because they do have an interlocal agreement, but it's a totally exempt veteran. Same type of situation, but it's impact windows for this one. So in my research, I saw that impact windows in this area should not cost more than $15,000, $20,000. Approximately $74,000 was financed to do these windows. And it's, again, a 2,000 square foot home or less, approximately 9 or 10 windows, and $74,000 was financed to replace the windows. So this gentleman, who is a totally exempt veteran, who has been paying $50 on their tax bill for however long he's been exempt, because all his ad valorem taxes are exempt. He only pays the Edgewater Fire Rescue. That's their only non-ad valorem tax that they assess. This year, I will be sending him a tax bill for over $6,600 for the next 30 years. And if you just calculate that up right there, those windows will end up costing about $200,000 in total for financing $74,000. I have two more quick examples. In the county, there was a home finance for repairs, $45,000 was financed. The permit that they pulled was $34,000. Where'd that other $11,000 go? I can't tell you. I don't know, because that's all I can see is the difference. This is how much was financed. This is how much the permit was. So the last example, and I have seen some Southeast Volusia Habitat for Humanity gentlemen. There was in Daytona Beach a Habitat for Humanity home, which, if you know anything about Habitat for Humanity and the homes that they provide, they offer mortgage. They act as the mortgager. And here's the thing about this program. The mortgage companies don't have to be noticed. If it's anything 20% or less of the assessed value of the home, the mortgage company does not have to be noticed. So what do we see? 18, 19%? They'll push the limit. They'll never get to that 20%. So this Habitat for Humanity home had one of these assessments for some kind of repair, a roof or something. And when I told the Habitat for Humanity ladies in that area, they were not pleased. They used the words predatory lending, and they were not very pleased at all, because any mortgager is not going to be pleased about being second fiddle to anyone. They don't want to be second fiddle. And this makes it a first lien because we're going to get the money no matter what, because we'll sell a tax certificate if the property owner can't pay. Now, this is what happens when you have a mortgage company and you've escrowed payment for the property tax bill. Say you get this done in 2020, and then you don't make your first payment until 2021, the mortgage company may not even know about it until 2021 when they pull the file for that first bill. And guess what? They're going to be surprised to have a bill that's almost double the original tax bill. And where does that put the homeowner? That puts them behind the eight ball because they're going to have to, A, catch up for all that they didn't have in escrow already, and then they're going to have to add on to make sure their future escrow is taken care of. So this is where I've seen issues back and forth. Here in New Smyrna, actually, it's not too bad. There are only 16 parcels that we are putting on the roll this year. But this is what I want to comment about those. And it's not all this one company that is taking advantage of citizens that I've seen. Because I'll be honest with you, this one company that is putting on an amount of $8,116 per year for 30 years on one property owner for roofing. Again, I just don't, I don't agree that that's how that should have played out. Because I don't see where any residential home, 2,000 square foot, something like that, should have cost that much money to finance, to get those repairs. And that was just roofing. Again, roofing. Their 2022 bill was $2,000 from that Pace company. So again, here's my confusion. If your bill was supposed to be $8,000 more, why didn't they bill them all that one time and get that started? Well, because if they don't bill it, then it lasts longer in the cycle, right? So they pay more interest in the end, is what my observation is. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that's what my observation is. The next one is a Green Corridor Pace loan as well. It's adding $2,000 a year for 30 years to this property owner. This last one, it's windows. It's a new assessment this year, so these people will probably be calling my office. This is a person that is Save Our Seniors, which means they've met a threshold for that exemption. And for 30 years, they're going to add $2,000 a year to their tax bill. So this is not limited to one organization, but as far as how much is charged and how much has to be repaid and how much interest they're making, there's a lot of companies out there. All four companies out there that are seemingly taking advantage of people that otherwise probably don't have the means to be able to pay this. Because that's my observation, is that these are people that probably don't have the means to pay an increased property tax to begin with, but they don't understand that they're going to be billed for this on their tax bill. What I believe is going on is when you say it's going to be free for 12 to 18 months, which is a lot of the mailers that are going out right now say, by the way, they've gotten really aggressive lately. All of the companies have gotten really aggressive lately. We've gotten 6 mailers since the end of July. And they all say something about easy money, easy financing. They talk about the My Safe Florida Home, that project. which is already out of money, by the way, because that starts July 1st of every year, and they're already out of money as of August 1st or August 30th. 30th, yeah, they were out of money already by then. So that's a $10,000 grant. Yes, you may qualify for it, but you're not going to get it this year because they're already out of money. So that is the things that they're saying. And I think a lot of people, when they hear it's free they hear it's free and don't associate that they're going to have to pay a tax bill in 12 to 18 months that's going to more than double their tax bill. So that's all I have. I have plenty of information for you. Any information that you need from me, I'll gladly get to you. I've been monitoring this heavily since May of this year, because it's funny, because we heard about the bond validation. They put out, this company specifically put out a letter, said, hey, guess what? This is great. We have statewide jurisdiction. We'll be able to go, anywhere in the state of Florida. And we were like, no, not really. And they had plenty of people telling them, no, this is not how we see the, Florida statute and how it operates. So, got to the end of May. I went to my Florida Tax Collector Spring Executive Conference. They said, you guys need to go check your clerk of court records and see what they're doing. So I came home the following Monday, spent 12 hours going through the process of looking at all the ones that this one company had already assessed. They had already assessed up to 140 by that point. This was the first 5 months of this year. They'd already done 140. Let's just put it this way in perspective. They're up to 260 now. But let's put it in perspective. 99 was the total that we had last year on the roll all together, all 4 companies. 40 of those were this one company. We've been doing this since 2010. We only had 99 on the roll. They're already up to 260, just this one company. Let's put it this way. The rest of the other 3 companies combined had 15 in the same time period. So it's interesting how heavily and aggressive this one company has been since the beginning of this year. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Will. Any questions for the tax collector?
Just,
Yes,
do
ma'am.
we have any tools at all to
Okay. Yeah.
assist, prevent the predatory lending aspect of it and making sure that people understand what they're getting into?
Right, and that's my role that I'm trying to be, is the educator on what's going on and what's out there, and I would say just educate as much as possible, put out as much information, but I still think even with as much information as we can provide, a lot of times they're still not going to read the fine print. The city of Deltona is actually the hardest hit because they had over 70 of those 260 in the city, which, again, they don't have an interlocal agreement, so I'm not putting it on the tax bill, but...
Just a quick question. Is the same bank financing for this company? I mean, in other words, presumably they have a banking
Right.
thing behind
They
them.
do. So this particular company, Florida Pace Funding Agency, has 2 finance companies. That it's Home Run Financing and Fortify Financial, and they're both out of California.
Any other questions? Just one, you got one?
I just had
Go ahead.
just a comment. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Right.
And I understand the program was well-intended.
Right.
But clearly there seems to be some predatory lending practices.
Right.
That they're preying on people who don't necessarily understand what they're getting into.
Right.
And I'm assuming that there may be some of the companies, windows and roofing companies, that this is kind of all tied into.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you again, Will. You always provide great insight. You may not know, but we've got an item coming up later to vote on whether we continue to have an
Right.
interlocal agreement. And without getting into details of that, we have 19 people in that program right now that have bought in years ago, and maybe they got good deals and maybe they didn't. In order to do no harm, let's say we voted that down to continue forward.
Right.
Would you continue to service those 19 so they're not damaged?
And that's the thing. That's up to you guys. However you determine to terminate, if you decide to terminate, that decision is up to you, whether I continue to collect or not.
It's in our hands.
You make that
Okay.
decision.
Good enough.
That was a great question, Mayor, but let me
Yeah, go right
clarify
ahead.
that. We terminate the relationship. There's already 19. You continue, are we simply terminating what's going forward, or are we terminating the previous 19 also?
So you make that determination.
Okay,
If you terminate and say, from this point, no more will be collected in the city of New Smyrna Beach, no matter how they were, when they were done, then I have to follow that however you state. If you state that anything that's currently on the books, because it was during the time that you had an interlocal agreement and you would like to continue to collect, then I'll do what you request.
Good to know that's in our hands. I know the city manager got a briefing on it later, so we just don't want to harm those folks that are
Right.
already in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, excellent. Yes, ma'am.
The dates of those 19, how long have those 19, in other words, are they all new people or have they been in the program for a while?
No, some of them have been in the program 2 or 3 years, but there are a few that are new, yes, as of this year.
So the oldest is 3 years.
I think there's probably 2 or 3, 4 years maybe, but it's not very, they haven't been on the program very long.
Yeah, they're
Any
not
of them.
close to the end of their 30.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Yeah.
Will. Appreciate
And
the
I
comments.
do want to say that, again, the original intent of this program was low interest, reasonable is wording in the staff analysis for the legislation. I think we have definitely surpassed the low interest rate, and we've definitely surpassed some of what I would deem reasonable. So, thank you
Awesome.
very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Will. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, well, if I may,
Yeah, go
any
ahead.
of the other cities have pulled out of the interlocal agreement that you're aware of?
So the city of Port Orange had me speak to them. The city of Daytona Beach had me speak to them. The city of Daytona Beach doesn't have an interlocal agreement, but they wanted to get the word out. The city of Port Orange, I haven't heard whether they've decided to continue at least the relationship with that one company or not, but they are considering it, whether they want to terminate or not.
But you're not aware of any city who has pulled out yet?
No.
Okay,
No,
thank
sir.
you.
I will say that the county has filed suit against this company. They are trying to protect their citizens, residents, and taxpayers. And the fact that they did go into an agreement or had a resolution that allowed commercial pace, but it was interesting that this company decided not to even get into that interlocal agreement because they thought they had statewide jurisdiction. So the county is not pleased that that they were going residentially and didn't even have a commercial interlocal agreement. So they're actually taking litigation to them, along with other counties and cities. And then, of course, that one company sued more than 16 tax collectors throughout the state to try to get them to put it on the tax bill.
Thank you. Appreciate
sir.
the comments.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your
Thank you, Will.
briefing.
You guys have a great one.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, your report, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you very much, and I'll try to be as quick and short and just some good news that we heard from FDEM on receiving $3.5 million for 4 projects that they approved, and that is the Aqua Court and Pine Island Canal dredging, the Gabordi Canal improvements, the Old Menorcan Pond improvements, and the Cemetery Canal improvements. This is significant in terms of the funding, especially with the budget that we have. So I want to thank staff for following up on it, and also thank FEMA and FDEM. We also heard from FEMA on Riverside Dock and the 27th. It's going through the process, but I don't have the official approval on it, so we're still following up on that one. Also, I wanted to congratulate our employees on attending the leadership program with the chamber, and that is Rob Salazar, Jesse Colby, Irma Terry, William Helms, and Travis Kendricks from the city clerk's office. Just wanted a lot of questions about resurfacing. We have started on the resurfacing. Right now, we're expecting to complete by the end of November. Also, just want to remind everyone of the Veterans Day on November 11th, and that is starts at 10 o'clock on the dot. That's when the ceremony starts. So, and it goes in from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock at Riverside Park. And I will discuss, Mayor, with the commission at the end of the meeting during your business regarding 120 Flagler. Public participation. Nothing really out of the past public participation that required some attention except one item, and that is the gentleman who came in to complain about the garbage trucks being on the road where they blocked it. Yeah. Staff has been working on it even before he showed up. It's a private, he called it a road, but it's a private driveway. A portion of that driveway was constructed on the adjacent property. The adjacent property blocked it off. However, staff found a survey that shows that they have 30-foot easement for that road. I have talked to the gentleman. Also, I directed David Ray from Maintenance Op to contact him. It needs to be resolved between the adjacent property, which is the LLC, and also their homeowner association. So they're working on it, but at least we found that they have a 30-foot easement with that road. We could continue there. I think that's the only one that required action, Mayor. So if there's any questions for the city manager, I'll be more than happy to answer it.
Very good. Any questions for the city manager? Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick one, because I was involved in the enterprise issue a few weeks ago, and it wasn't clear at the time that the person who was speaking for the closed-off area was in fact the owner or a representative of the owner. Never heard whether that was clarified.
Well, I don't think the person that they were dealing with was a representative, but Mr. Roy, who spoke here, did not know that they have a 30-foot easement. So that was the biggest. That was the biggest info. But he was supposed to be reaching out to whoever represents the LLC. I don't think it's the same person he was talking to. So I haven't heard anything after that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Congratulations to you and the staff for getting the $3.5 million for very much needed. I know there are residents who have been writing regularly about when is help coming, and now it'd be nice to be able to write back and explain that help is on the way. And also about the Veterans Day event coming up where we'll feature Representative Corey Mills will come and speak to us at the get-go. That'll be nice.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, now on to public participation. If there is a member in the audience who would like to inform the commission of something, you'll have 3 minutes to do so. This is a monologue, not a dialogue, so please act accordingly. When you come forward, just your name and your address for the record. You'll see a green light when you have 3 minutes, yellow light when 1 minute remaining, and a red light when you need to be concluded. For those of us in the audience, no cheers or jeers. This is personal opinion of whoever comes forward. And again, the city manager and the city clerk taking copious notes, so if there's a requirement to get back and to respond directly, that will take place. So name and address for the record, please. Mr. Adi.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. Good evening, everybody. I'm here for 2 items. One is your consent agenda, item 7P. That's the request for $48,845 for replacement kiosks. I think we all agree that city leaders need to make data-driven decisions. And earlier this evening, we had the Parking Task Force report that says there's a critical need for parking data. what I see happening with the purchase of these kiosks is that you'll be locked in for 8 more years of not having data unless there's supplemental equipment purchased. So what I think would be most prudent would be to wait for the professional advisors that you just agreed to put out an RFP for, and then see what kind of parking equipment is best. The second thing I wanted to mention, and I sent this in some time ago on the city website, but I see some sidewalks being installed in various places. I have a lot of experience picking up my granddaughter at Chisholm, and every day I see students and parents walking to the west, and we really need a sidewalk on the north side of Ronick Drive between Myrtle and Duss, because when it rains, all those kids and parents are walking in the street on Ronick, and it's a problem. And it's not a long block. So I would recommend taking a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Bob Williams, 767 Pine Shore Circle. I also want to mention about the kiosk, but kind of leading up to that, as we talked about a consultant versus a staff leader, I kind of related it to like in manufacturing. Like at IBM, you would have a design engineer who is up on the greatest design, but then you'd have an industrial or manufacturing engineer that's doing the operational side of it. And I kind of feel like we are in that situation here, having somebody who is an expert in putting together the systems that we're talking about, as well as they could help us with our recommendations of best practices at other cities on organizational structure, and actually help with the job description to then hire a director of parking and mobility. But when it comes to the purchase of the kiosks on the agenda, I am conflicted. I mean, I'm anxious to get on with getting the kind of equipment we need to get the data that we want. That being said, it makes sense to spend $50,000 to make sure we're still getting $1 million a year. And I trust the city manager's judgment if we're at that critical point with that. But on the data, I'll give you an example. As a resident, I go to the parking lot at the beach, and the technology that's there with the kiosks and then the license plate readers for enforcement was state of the art at the time it was put in, and it works great because the enforcement person comes by, they shoot my tag, they see I don't have to pay, and great, it's working that way. But the problem is there's no record of when I arrived, and there's no record of how long I was there. So in terms of us collecting the occupancy data that we need, that will then lead to the capacity planning that we need to do around the city, that either needs to be supplemented or replaced. So just wanted to share those thoughts with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that.
Hello.
Evening,
My
sir.
name is Jack Travis. I live at 2342 Melanie Drive in New Smyrna Beach, which I had annexed in. I'm here to thank you for Habitat for Humanity for all the generosity that you've given us in the past. We have a piece of property coming up for annexation. I would like you to favor it considerably, if you would. I know that you've helped us in the past, and this will help with low-income housing. There's not a lot of people or a lot of organizations that do it as well as we do. we are good at what we do.
Yeah, I would just like to say my name is Chris Crowley. I'm with Southeast Habitat Fallujah, and part of what we look into as far as affordable housing is not just the initial cost to build the home, but it's also making the home affordable over time. And by annexing into the city, it gives us some means in which to save costs on the front end, as well as over time by being able to access public utilities. With the home being in property of the county, we have to consider things such as wells and septic systems and things of that nature. So by annexing into the city, I think it enables us to tap into our, relationship with you all and everything that you guys do for us. And it just makes the construction process that much more streamlined and more affordable for us, which then obviously transfers over to the future homeowner as well. So thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Evening, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Louis Spradlin. I am at 808 East First Avenue in Beachside, and I'd like to speak very briefly regarding item 8, the solar panels. And I would like
Just hand it to the city clerk, sir. There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect.
speaking to this, I'm a retired professional engineer, bachelor's and master's degree, with over 35, 40 years of experience. I've looked at the proposals for item 8, and I'm very impressed. And what I would like to speak to, and it's on this, is the record of the solar panel installation that we've had on our home on First Avenue for almost 3 years now. And I could bore you with the technical data, but it's on the sheet of paper. And I did this not for monetary reasons, but it's the right thing to do. As you might know, global warming, the pollution blanket is above us, carbon dioxide. Any leakage of propane is even worse by a long shot. It's causing climate change. There's no doubt about it. All the data, graphs, everything correlates. In any event, the payback for this, during this period, we have had over 36 megawatt hours from this beautiful Florida sun generated at our house. It's more than paid for our electricity. And the carbon dioxide that is saved is equivalent to a tank 50 feet in diameter, which you can envision, that is over 20 stories high, filled with carbon dioxide just from the panels on our home alone. Now imagine, just from our home, which has 27 panels, and you have megawatt capacity, especially in the two cultural centers and Babe James Center. I would especially encourage you to approve this, and the upfront cost, less than $250,000 if paid up front, is a bargain for our grandchildren. And I'm concerned about our grandchildren, what beautiful New Smyrna Beach will be like for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spradlin. Appreciate your comments.
My name's Tom Bean, 3 Leonardo Lane. Just taking this time to reintroduce myself. You're making an appointment to the Planning and Zoning Board later today, and it seems like it's been about 2 years since I first applied, and I wanted to let you folks know that I still was very interested in serving in that manner. Why I want to is really twofold. I feel I'm qualified. I have a bachelor's degree in engineering, master's degree in business, and have spent a 50-year career in construction, real estate, development, planning, and consulting with those various fields. Secondly, I believe that now having lived in New Smyrna Beach for 6 years, it's a fantastic community. I want to give back to it. I've given back to other communities I've lived in. When I was living in upstate New York, I was vice chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals in my town. also chairman of some school board committees regarding facilities. So I'm just coming here to ask for your support. One other thing I'll mention is that I'm currently a member of the Economic Development Task Force, which is a very important function within the city. I understand that if I'm appointed to the zoning board, I would have to resign that. In looking at how I want to serve, I personally feel I'm better suited for the zoning board and ask for your consideration for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Appreciate it. Dr. Herman.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. Two comments. One, I'd like to echo the gentleman talking about the solar. I was part of the many meetings around the planning of the Live Oak Cultural Center, and the architect testified numerous times about why that building should be solar and how much it would save the city. And that was many years ago. And it would, if we had done it then, it would have been a lot cheaper for the installation. So I think it is time to act, and I think his facts really back that up. The second thing, and this is always a little bit difficult when public participation precedes, but the city manager mentions he's going to bring up 120 Flagler. As a resident 2 blocks away from there, and as a concerned citizen, the building is laid vacant now for several years. I know it was purchased from the impact fee money that had to be reduced. It was mandated to do that. The property is indeed very valuable. The plan was then to improve the intersection, and after, I guess, a lot of thought and consideration, there's some major problems with that. And the last I knew, it was going out for lease, and there's a big sign on it for lease. And maybe there are other options that are coming forward tonight. I don't know. But I do believe, now that we own it, it is a gateway to Flagler. It could serve, I think, so many ways to enhance the events on the street, particularly perhaps even police presence and other civic issues. We haven't had any revenue from it. I think we could probably organize a way to utilize it and keep it as it is, but I certainly would hate to see us lose that or sign it over to something that won't enhance the entrance to that very important part of our town. So I hope you'll consider that when you have your discussion.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your remarks. Is there anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Thank you very much. On to the consent agenda. We have 17 items on there, 16 now. The city manager removed one. Is there anybody on the commission would like to pull any of these items? Yes, ma'am.
A, E is in Edward, G is in George, J as in Jasper. No, where's that? I, I'm sorry, it's I for the video. And K for West Side.
Anybody else?
I have 7E,
Echo.
7M like mother, 7P, 7
E,
J.
M is mother, P is in papa, got it.
and 7K.
Okay, alphabet soup here, got it. Anybody else? All right, this is kind of, yes, sir.
7F,
7 Fox, okay.
and then just a comment on H.
All right, this is going to be interesting.
Do we have anything
All right,
to approve?
let's see.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
I think
sir.
on the next agenda, I'm not going to have any consent agenda. I have all as administrative items.
All right, so if I've got this right, we're going to, the chair would entertain a motion to approve item 7B, C, J?
No, wait.
No, we
Did you pull
pulled it.
J? J was
One of
pulled?
us did.
I think it was I, switched J was
Oh,
switched
yeah,
to I.
yeah, let's look at J. What's J?
J.
Yeah, no, it was I, you're right.
All right,
Got
so,
me.
so J,
J, we pulled.
Q, oh, and that's it. Okay, so those are the items that we're going to vote on.
Move to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
City Attorney, yes, ma'am.
as well as 7L, 7N, 7O.
Which ones are, yeah, repeat the letters.
All right, the letters that we have pulled are A, Alpha, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa.
We also
Those have
pulled
all been pulled.
7J.
Huh? I said, yeah, 7A for Alpha.
No, J.
Oh, J.
Jam.
Sorry.
Pulled.
J, Juliet, yeah, got it. All right, so I'll go over the ones we're going to approve by consent. B, Bravo, C, Charlie. And that's it.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve
Second.
items 7B and C. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I already had a motion to approve the motioner was McGurk.
I'm gonna
Vice Mayor was the seconder.
I'm going to rescind my first motion.
We've got them changed up. All right, Kelly, we're going to have a motion and a second on item B and C. Please call the
Commissioner
roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's go for it now. Item 7A, whose is that? Yes, ma'am.
Just a correction to the minutes. The way the minutes were written, it doesn't mention that the motion is actually to create an RFP to sell via RFP. So I just wanted to clarify that the motion in the minutes was actually to sell the property
That's
for
720
historic
or 120?
refurbishment.
120? Which one?
No,
Which
no,
property?
no, Women's Club.
Women's Club, okay.
Yeah, right. So that was simply to clarify the minutes.
I'll talk to you offline, but we have to take the motion by exactly what you say, even though you might be intending something else. You know what I mean? I'll talk to you offline about it.
Would it be appropriate, the motion to amend the minutes to include the word sell in the RFP is to sell? That's the clarity I think
Okay.
she's asking for. Okay, so the motion is to amend the minutes to record that the motion intent was to sell, to write an RFP to sell the Women's Center. Is that right?
I'm not
Yes,
so sure.
and-
I think the motion is to restate the motion from the prior meeting that indicates that we want to sell the building for the purpose of refurbishment and to retain the right of first refusal. So, I mean, however you want it worded, I just noticed when I read through the minutes that the word sell or sale was not in there.
And there was one other one with the approval of, it said disapproval, Canal Christmas, yeah.
Did you have a second?
I'm not sure what, am I making a motion about the minutes or am I making a motion about the original motion?
You're making a motion about the minutes.
Okay,
As amended to insert the word sell.
okay, I will make a motion to amend the minutes from the October 10th meeting to include the word sell for the RFP for purchaser to refurbish the building with the city retaining the right of first refusal should the purchaser decide to sell the building after it has been restored.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
Staff understand, and we're not actually changing what the motion was. Just want to make sure that's,
It's an omission.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Madam City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes?
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. All right, very good. Let's move on to item 7D, and that was I pulled that just for comment. For the public that does not know, the vice mayor is a rotational assignment lasting a year. Vice Mayor Hartman will conclude his term in November in Zone 4. It will then move to Zone 1 for the following year, then Zone 2, then Zone 3, then back to Zone 4, for those that do not understand how that works. Any other discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 6123.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes. Item 7E, 7 Echo, whose is that?
I pulled that.
Yeah, I've got one on that too. You go ahead.
Commissioner
Valerie.
Perine.
We both have.
Discussion is that my concerns were two things. First was a question, I didn't know what the other cities have for a minimum. And second is we're getting ready to have a new city manager. And I was concerned that that new city manager would not be aware of the vendors as Call It is. So is this the right time to approve an increase in purchasing?
I think it is, only because it's kind of like the gas tax. It was created 100 years ago, never changed. It's not, the $25,000 is so disproportionate over time for how long it's been $25,000. So that's the only reason. I mean, I don't have any problem with it. It's not high, unusual.
So do we know what the other cities' minimums are? Are they all 50? I don't have any guidance here.
Anybody know?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Janet Vivian, the purchasing agent for the city.
Janet.
I might be able to answer your questions here.
Thank
It's listed. It's listed in the staff report. So City of Edgewater just went to 50, Volusia County's 50, and Port Orange is 100,000.
Got it.
Very good. Thank you.
Helpful, Jan. Thanks for that
Very
comparison. That's good. I had an issue about the designee. I would prefer it be Khalid. I don't want him to delegate it below that. And so that was where I was. I don't know if anybody shares that view. I didn't want it delegated past the city manager. Yes, sir.
If I may, Mayor.
No, of course. Enlighten us.
Just when the city manager is out, it kind of boggled the system down if you didn't have a designee. So right now, if I leave on vacation or, out for work, that we have the assistant city manager or the designee the city manager will assign, because it goes through the process. I mean, you have 4 or 5 people approve the thing, so.
That I understand now. I thought it was you would nominate a slate of hitters. In your absence, totally understand that. I withdraw.
Okay, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
The original policy had both the approval level thresholds and the change orders, the phrase not to exceed 10% of the original approved contract value. And I would like both amended to put that back in, because certainly it leaves sort of an open door for aggregation. 10%, $100, now I come back for 10% and it's 110, and now I come back for 10% and it's 121. So we could, by not maintaining 10% of the original contract, it leaves an opportunity for a never-ending aggregation.
So my understanding was that the aggregate counts to the 10%. What am I missing something?
The words "not to exceed 10% of the original approved contract value" were removed from both places. Under the, 1.6 approval level thresholds and 4.3 change orders. So without that phrase, not to exceed or cannot exceed 10% of the original contract value or $50,000, it could be interpreted that last month we gave it another 10%, and this month we're giving it 10%, next month we're giving it 10%, but they're all aggregates. So it is a geometric progression. This clarifies that these decisions are based on the value of the original contract.
Is that in keeping with the spirit of what you had in mind, City Manager?
Our intent is to be the 10% of the original contract, so we'll add that one there, because right now that's what we have. And it's aggregate, so it's 10%. If you have 10.01, then it has to go to the commission, so we'll keep that one.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
I had a question, and I don't know if Carrie's had a chance to research it yet, about
the unauthorized expenditures, is that usually done through, because I would think everything else would be done through the approval process, whereas the only way you could probably do that would be through a P-card expenditure, and do we not have limits on our P-cards?
10,000 on at least some of them.
The P-cards is actually a small purchase, and most of your cardholders have up to 5,000. And one quote is required up to 5,000. They can't go above that.
Okay.
We do have some people who have more than that, and that's the department heads in case of storms. I can tell you, I verify every P-card transaction, and we have not had anything over 5,000. I actually have some numbers if you want to read them off. So P-cards under 5,000, last year we did 3,762, I'm sorry, for fiscal year 22. Last fiscal year 23 was 4,494 transactions. There's been nothing over 5,000.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jan. Appreciate that. Wow. Okay, so I think we've got the spirit is exactly as you had intended, and it meets Commissioner Martin's fine tooth of making sure that it doesn't get aggregated over and over again. So with that as the understanding, can we have the motion? We'll just leave the motion as stated to consider that resolution 6223.
Well, I would clarify that. I would like make a motion to approve 7E purchasing policy with the amended on 1.6 to read not to exceed 10% of the original approved contract value, and 4.3 change orders amended to read cannot exceed 10% of the original contract value or $5,000.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second. Kelly, you got that wording? And if not, we can get it to you. And that meets the intent and the spirit. Any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. So moved and adopted. Okay, 7F, which is Resolution 6423, which is the resolution to issue tax-exempt debt and replenish its reserves. Who's that one?
That's mine. So my question is this in reference to the fire truck purchases?
On 7F, sir,
Yes.
is it about the fire truck?
Yes, sir.
Reserves, are we, is that what
Then I'm a
the,
little confused because in the September the 12th meeting, we had a motion that was seconded and then we unanimously approved that it all come out of reserve funds.
Yeah.
So now we're
This
going
is-
back and trying to kind of backdoor funding it if needed. I think that.
This is, if you borrow the money, you'll be able to put the money back in your, in the reserve.
But then I have to pay interest on that money, and it's another debt that we're saddling for the next 5 or 10
I'm
years.
saying, if we have to borrow the money, if you don't borrow the money, then we're all set.
Well, but we've already agreed to fund it and pay for it out of the
We
reserves.
did, we did.
So-
We paid
so
for it
in-
out of the general fund reserve.
And we have a revolving fund, and then we also have a reserve fund of 25% of the budget, that if we need it, we have access to that. So I don't know that this is actually necessary or needed, and, you know,
This is in case if you need it, so it will save you some time. If you don't want it, I mean, it's just a precautionary that you have, and to save you some time, so. But right now, we have 900,000 in your reserve, above the 25%. So I just wanted to.
above the 25?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Any other discussion on that? Is there a motion on Resolution 6423? Even if we want to vote it down, we have to have a motion.
Move to approve.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Any more discussion? So the motion is to approve it. The concern is that you don't want to pay to borrow that money anyway.
no.
And we have a reserve, and then we have an excess over the reserve. City manager.
Mayor, if I just.
Yeah, your perspective on how fast we would burn through in the case of a
Well,
tragedy or something.
Here's my concern right now. I mentioned at the beginning of my CM report, we received $3.5 million in a grant. The cost to do these projects, it's not 3.5. So where are you going to get the money? Because the city commission is pushing us to go get grants. Well, those grants need matching funds. And right now, if I have to go and match the $3.5 million, where do I go?
Could I ask if there is a cost in giving this permission? Is there a embedded cost in just giving the permission?
Right now, there is no cost, but if I
That's-
borrow, there will be cost. If I borrow money,
Right,
So
but this right
basically
now,
what-
we're just giving you permission to borrow it should you need to, correct?
yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hartman?
So basically, what you've just said is your intent is to go ahead and finance these things so that you can get your money for your stormwater projects. My comment is, I think that we've had a budget process, we went through the budget process, we approved the budget process, and we all agreed that we would pay for this out of the excess reserve funds at that time. If we need money for another project, we can certainly go get a loan, or go to a line of credit, or float a bond, or do any number of things for a specific project. I don't want to go back and keep tagging on to this that we've already had a full discussion on, and we all mutually agree unanimously that the fire trucks would be funded through the excess reserves that we had last year.
Vice Mayor, I didn't say I'm going to borrow the money. I didn't know about the $3.5 million until last week. The budget was approved prior to that. So the $3.5 millions.
So if you need $3.5 million for a stormwater project or a dredging project, then we need to come up with a financing source either somewhere else, you know, of another line of credit or something along that thing. Or the best thing would be to finish some of these projects that we have floating out here where we already have all of our money tied up, waiting for them to finish so that we can get our money back from the grants that are already out there.
Now, I get 5 emails a day from different commissioners. Here's a grants opportunity available out there. Why don't you go for it? So I did. I get $3.5 million. And now I'm being blamed for it.
No, that's not what I've said. What I said is, if you come to us at the next meeting and say, I need to do a funding source to match the $3.5 million, I'm 100% behind you. But tying it to the previous motion that we made, where we're paying for the fire trucks out of the excess reserves, is what we all agreed to. Let that one lie. If you need additional funding for these dredging projects, that should be another funding source. It should be labeled a different funding source. I don't want to go back and keep doing this over and over again.
And I'm with you. I'm not saying we're not. We paid out of the general fund reserve for the fire trucks.
Right.
This is in case if you need to borrow any money. I didn't know about the $3.5 million when this was prepared.
So what I think I hear is on a case-by-case basis, as you just discovered you had new $3.5 million, and you have to have matching fees. I think what the Vice Mayor, what I have is, hey, come back and say, hey, will you give me permission to go find some money? And don't tie it to anything else.
Okay, I'm going to put this item out. I'm going to put it up.
Okay,
There's a motion
could I
and
do
made
one
seconded.
quick question before
I'm
you
going to
do?
put it out before the motion. I'm going to put the item.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes,
Should
ma'am.
you need the money, how long would it take to get it?
At least 90 days.
Thank you.
So that's what the financial advisor mentioned at the time, but it takes some time to go to the commission and so forth. So I think we'll pull this item out. Since now we have the $3.5 million coming up, I need to figure out what do I need, and we could come back to you.
So you will come back with a specific motion for the $3.5 million.
I think we have a motion and a second on the floor, and we need to vote on the motion.
Is there a motion out there? Did we make it? Okay.
There is. Commissioner McGurk made the motion.
All right.
Commissioner Perine.
No harm, no foul. You can still come back and
I'll
later
rescind
ask.
the motion. Okay. And that way it can be withdrawn. The item can be withdrawn.
Very good. Okay. Not to get tied up in the Roberts rules, motion's been rescinded, and this item will be pulled. And now we have an understanding about the technique that you will come back and ask for money. How about item 7G, 7 Golf?
Okay. And this really isn't all I only had a couple of questions. I have since learned during the day that despite calling it the boat ramp parking fund, it is not in fact separate from the parking fund. And I will go back in and say when we have oceanfront parking fund and boat ramp parking fund, at some point in the future, I will be asking that those funds be restricted for use in the areas that create that money. And then it also references transient slips, and I'm just curious why we're promoting transient slips there when we have the NSB Marina. I don't understand the difference. Please forgive my ignorance.
Could you repeat the question, please?
The transient slips, they reference in the site design and in the contract, transient slips for the AOB site. And I was wondering why we were adding transient slips to the AOB site when we have the NSB Marina. It just seemed, I just don't understand, because I thought they would be functionally the same thing. The transients were directed for profit to the marina.
The only thing we're doing at the North Causeway Boat Ramp is to change the fixed docks to floating docks. And I think when they call it a transient slip, I think it's a name. It's not the same thing as a transient slip at the marina. That's just my assumption. So.
Well, they're using the same term, so I would be reluctant to continue on with an approval for something, if the term transient slip is in the documentation. Thank you.
Hold on. Come on back here.
So, great question, Commissioner Martin. On that, it is, as Khalid said, it's fixed, or it's from fixed docks to floating docks. The language you found was in the presentation that was built a couple years ago.
Okay.
That this commission approved for the design to pursue the grant, first to pursue the grant, and then to pursue design. Both of those have been approved. We kept that same, we just copied and pasted into the presentation for this, the previous stuff that was approved, so it was consistent. It's not a transient slip in the intent you're thinking. We're happy to change the language. It's floating docks.
Okay, so we're going to remove the language transient slips and replace it with floating docks?
If that makes you happy.
Well, it would, because I conflated the two, and I would assume other people might, and it could be, again, in the future, be misconstrued and required.
And we were, like I said, we were just trying to keep consistent with what was approved years ago.
Understood.
Multiple times.
So, okay.
Makes total sense, Jess. Thank you very much. Commissioner Martin, would you like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve item 7G, replacing the words transient slips with floating docks.
I'll second that.
A motion second. Any further discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Okay, 7G is done. 7H.
Pull that just as a comment, because I actually have talked to Chad and Jesse the other day about this, and as they're excavating the old Fort Wall, they're finding some amazing things down there. The archaeologists have found things dated back to possibly 500 AD. And my idea was we should do something with that. We should get the Historical Society on board, do a little paper, put a sign, once the project is done, here was the sign, we rebuilt it, this is what was found. So something along those lines. They said they've already been doing that. They're in the process of doing that. And she's actually making a presentation to the historical board. So I think that's something very cool that we can show that with the history, and especially with the engineering of that old Fort Wall, you'd be surprised what they did 250 years ago, or however long it was, for the water to seep through and not build up behind things like that. So it was it's enlightening to me that we have found those things, and just hopefully that we put that out there in the near future either through the Historical Society or even through a plaque of some nature that describes that, so that those who come behind us will know what happened and things like that. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve 7H.
Motion for approve 7H.
Second.
And a second, I've got one more comment. City Manager, enlighten us. Many ask, why so long? And you had a great explanation. Maybe you can talk about that. And then would it be appropriate to have some signage up there so that we're advertising what it is we're doing?
I'm going to quick jump to the signs. I talked to Jesse and Chad today, and we should be complete with the project in probably 2 weeks. So by the time we make the signs, I mean, the project will be complete. But having worked with a historic structure like this, not knowing what exactly behind it, so if you look from the beginning, we had to get a consultant. Consultant didn't work on it. We got rid of the consultant. We came up with another consultant. And it took us a while to get the design and then to do the excavation behind the wall. And then not only that, but the first design they came up with, that did not work. So we had to change the design to what's existing today. And I would encourage anybody who would like to take a tour to go either with me or with Jesse and Chad and take a look. I think you'll be surprised of what happened behind the wall to protect it. So, but if it's going to take more than 2 weeks, Mayor, we'll put the signs up. But talking to them, it looks like we're pretty close.
So so it won't go till spring of 2024. It'll be finished before then.
Go ahead.
So there's two parts to this project. The first is the retaining wall that's on the back side of the wall, which is keeping it structurally sound and from tipping over or pushing forward. That part will be complete. Well, it's already done. They're backfilling, which should be done within the next 2 weeks. They'll take down all the fencing. There's a second part which will be finished in April, which is the cracks on the front side of the wall. It's just for aesthetics. It's not for structural support. So they'll come back once the concrete fully cures to make sure it doesn't make more cracks and fix it at that point. So
Wonderful. Thanks for the enlightenment. Appreciate that.
So
Thank
that will
you,
be
sir.
the facial structure on the wall.
Brilliant, brilliant. There's a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, very good. Let's go to 7 India, the video, community showcase video. Whose is that? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have concerns that it could be perceived as a city endorsement of the company's link to the video. I think we should think this through very carefully before we accept this free video, because it's an implied endorsement of the companies that are there with us. And those companies that are not part of the video could feel excluded. So I just think that this is, I just think this may be a place we should, we really shouldn't tread.
Any other comments? I have a couple. I watched the videos, each city, I watched each city's video, and they're divided into mini videos, which have one for economic development, one for the history, one for the ecology, one for city services, and one for community clubs and organizations. I think that bifurcation of the intent actually helps. I was concerned it was going to be a blanket advertisement, please come to New Smyrna. It actually is not. It's more informative than any of that. The cities that have jumped in seem to be of great quality, that we would be in great company. I favor the videos. I would love for us to control, on the other hand, the sponsorship of which New Smyrna organizations would actually be the sponsors. But in general, I think it's a plus for the community. Your comment about others would feel like maybe other video people might feel left out. Maybe, but they could
Well, if we
bring
select the companies, then we are clearly aligning ourselves with a limited scope of businesses.
Yep, absolutely.
So yeah.
Commissioner McGurk.
Has there been any, is there any evidence of any negative comments about the company? Is there any specific, I mean, I
Oh, no,
understand what
I
you're
have no problem
saying.
with the video.
And
I
don't-
am just concerned.
Well, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I want, I don't have a big for or against this thing, but if I was going to deny it, I'd want to deny it on something more tangible.
Well, my concern would be, for example, if we invited Twisty Treats to be on the page, but did not invite treats on the beach. If we invited...
We're not doing that, right? It's just the company.
Well, depends on who you ask. And I'm saying I just really don't think the city should be in the business of selecting businesses. I think
Well,
we should be. I think we should be above that, and should we really monetize an affiliation with the city?
So my understanding was the video company goes out into the community and solicits the different companies out there.
I'm talking about perception.
No, I
If I'm
understand,
looking
but-
at the video,
I understand, but I was just trying to clarify that too.
Yeah.
I understand what the mayor said, but that's not in the contract, right? That's not.
yeah, no, I mean, it's you know, if
I mean,
I'm
it's
viewing the video, I'm Mary Smith in, I don't know, Nebraska viewing this video, and yes, it's lovely to have all the different sections, but I still remember when I was newly in town here, and the first thing I heard one of the first things I heard on the radio was, "Hi, this is your mayor, blah, 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 inviting you to my restaurant." I thought, I never knew that government endorsed business.
Well, maybe you
It
went
was
to the restaurant
startling.
and said, "Wow, it was great," or you went to the restaurant and said, "Wow, that's terrible."
That would have been irrelevant. I was, shall we say, startled.
Okay.
Any
But
other
anyway,
discussion?
so I would ask, if the rest of the commission agrees to the video, and I am reluctant to do so, I am requesting that the beach not be showcased. We have so many other vibrant activities and areas in New Smyrna Beach that I think the beach is overdone. So thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the item 7I, consider approval of New Smyrna Beach to participate in a free community service showcase video program with the CGI Communications Incorporated?
Motion to approve 7I.
Motion, and is there a second? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
No.
Commissioner Preen,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman.
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes. Okay, 7J, 7I carries. 7J is the Pegasus Amendment. Whose is that?
I did. I
Yes,
pulled
ma'am.
that. So I pulled it for a better explanation of the amendment itself. It looked like this was due to a failure past pool permit due to an additional bedroom. So my question is, can you elaborate on that? And is this, why wouldn't the owner pay for that since it was a lack of a past pool permit?
See the city engineer making his way to the front.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Commissioner Prine, could you please clarify your question again for me?
Elaborate on the reason for the amendment for the elevation of the home. Was this due to a past extra bedroom, or what was the reason for?
Okay. Well, the amendment covers an array of items. There was a structural failure, which we then had to go back and do an amendment. The modification will come back to the commission when DM approves it. They have approved it in an email, but they haven't approved it officially yet. But yes, there was a failure, so they had to go back and redesign the support system for the home at 632 Ubon. When they did that, they had to also go through design analysis that had to be resubmitted through the building department, had to go through DEM for approval. And then we also had to make sure that that homeowner was compensated 75% to match the existing grant conditions, and that BCA was above 1.0. There are some other ancillary activities. This is for final closeout for the elevation of the 6 homes. So along with that, we also had a resident request some additional work be done at their residence, and they forego the temporary housing, which was covered in the DEM overall grant dollars, but the construction dollars and temporary housing dollars are in different pots, but that's included as part of the HMGP grant. So we had to make that amendment with DEM. There was also another resident that wanted to treat the exterior of their foundation. A lot of them came out kind of rough. They wanted to smooth those off with some, cementatious material. That was also a modification. That was on Pine Street. So that went. So that's all part of this package. And then it also includes the final closeout activity associated with DEM. So there's a little bit more than just that one property.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Could you?
Commissioner Martin?
I'm sorry. Could you clarify why there is no insurance coverage for the lift jack going through the bedroom floor at 632 Yukon? Why isn't there any design or construction, or clarify why there's no liability insurance covering that?
Based on our observation, the contract had elevated 5 previous homes. They used the same methodology, the pin pile, and the same points of pressure to lift the structure. And it was found out that this particular room was deficient. It was what appeared to be unpermitted enclosure of an old carport. So it lacked, it had no rebar, no reinforcing steel, no mesh, and it was very thin in nature, didn't have any aggregate in the concrete mix. So they simply put in a kind of a real, I'll call it just small amount of concrete, real thin layer to enclose that and make it a room. So it was never permitted or designed to be.
Is there any particular reason why we didn't check on permitting at the onset of the project, or why we didn't consider that since these homes were all built by different people at different years, that they may be constructed differently?
They're all constructed different. These homes are all 55, 60 years old, so there's very limited.
So we just didn't look at them as individuals. We just took one design and applied it to all?
They were looked at in order to be elevated. So they were looked at comprehensively, and then they were grouped to go back to that benefit cost analysis. That's why they were grouped together.
Thank you.
So, Kyle, help me. The one that caught my attention is the same one that caught Commissioner Perrine. Is it an unpermitted carport conversion that failed? And is the owners today the people that did the unpermitted?
That has no bearing. I did not do that research.
Pardon?
I could not tell you. I did not do
Couldn't
that
tell me.
research. Yeah.
My problem is I'm reluctant to have the city pay for the repair of an unpermitted and failed structure and not have the owners pay for the unpermitted failed structure. That's where my headache was. Can you help me through that?
The homeowner is paying for the construction.
They are? Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Oh.
That was previously approved, yes.
All right, so the homeowners is paying for it. That's not part of this amendment.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
The homeowner is paying for 25%, the local match of the additional fees.
The additional fees were what was required to make this carport get lifted.
Correct, and that's
Homeowner's going to pay for 25, and we're going to pay for 75.
FEMA HMGP grant will pay for 75%. So I will bring that back to the commission when DEM approves it. They have approved it in an email, but I don't have the actual modification. That'll be brought back to the commission.
Kyle, could you distinguish? This is not a construction amendment. This is a design amendment.
This is just administrative service.
This is
correct.
a consultant amendment, so it's not a construction.
Yep, that's correct.
That helps a lot. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks. Any other questions for the city engineer? Okay, thank you so much. Sure. Appreciate it. Okay, is there a motion to approve the item 7J, the Pegasus Engineering Contract Agreement Amendment?
I'll make that motion.
So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Item 7K, the Tectra Contract Amendment for the Historic West Side Drainage. Who's that one?
Just questions. I noticed that the property at the southeast corner of Milford Place and Mary was purchased just last April 2023 for $23,000. I hope that the city doesn't pay a lot more for it when we buy it, because it was interesting timing that it was purchased just this last April for the $23,000. And then my other question is, have all potential areas been verified as within the city and not unincorporated? Because that's a real tricky area in there.
Some of the rights-of-way are in the county, but the actual properties are in the city.
So we have verified that we can move ahead with this without having to first annex in different properties?
Correct. Yes, we can
Okay.
move forward with the infrastructure improvements, correct.
Thank you.
And I had a question
Yes,
on that
ma'am.
one as well. Was this identified in the original comp review?
This was not in the original contract. Did you say contract or?
Comp review plan, was that missed or what?
Oh, the expansion or the extension of services was a result of the outcome of a public meeting. We had several public meetings. So we identified hot spots in areas that had flooded, but due to some of the concerns outside that area, we had to accommodate these residents and their flooding concerns. So that's why we had to expand the scope of services for surveying, topo, tree, that type of thing, modeling. So as a result of our public meetings, it was at the Babe Change Center.
And then I see two actual different amounts within the attachments. And during briefings, there was one for 150 or some change and one for 382. Could you clarify which amount is that we're actually looking at for this 7K?
There should only be one amount. I don't know what was in the actual.
The amount that you're asking for is 137,000.
137, thanks.
There was an attachment in your agenda item that it shows the total. I think it was $250-something thousand, 137,000.
No, it's the 137 is the
The
is
total
the
was
additional.
382.9.
That's the original contract, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
So the amount we're approving is the 137.
Yes, I did have the original contract and just to show you what it was in scope of work.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve item 7K?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a motion
Second.
and a second? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate that. Item 7, Lima, the approval for the addendum to city janitorial services to add the gym. That is mine. All right. Maybe city manager or the leisure services director. Just a little info here. Who's previously been doing it and why can't they keep doing it? Why buy $645 a month services?
Sure. Right now, we have one recreation staff currently assigned to the building. That building is very highly trafficked, frequently, every day of the week. The demands of the janitorial are floundering at best. So we want to provide that excellent service, and this will make sure we do. This will be the consistent service we need. Previously, before the recreation staff, we had an administrative staff at the building, and it's been a constant issue. So this will help alleviate that issue.
Part of their job description. It wasn't part of their job description. It was an additional duty, and it didn't get done well.
So we have an athletic coordinator at the facility, and janitorial isn't really in the job description of an athletic coordinator. Now taking out the trash or a mop of the floor, but cleaning the bathrooms and giving it a full scale, what it needs is not within the scope.
Got it. Thank you. Any
Yes,
other
sir.
questions? So, thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Is there a motion to approve? Yes, ma'am.
Rob,
Sir.
sorry. It's kind of late, but would we be better to hire additional staff? Have you looked at those numbers?
We can do this for about $7,800 for the service with the janitorial. Additional staff
Okay.
would be significantly over that.
All right, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve item 7, Lima?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Motion?
Second?
Second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. On to item 7M, the approval of partnership with Friends of NSB Parks to memorialize and beautify the Warren Monument at Columbus Avenue Park.
Great, I pulled that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, first of all, I really love how the community steps up and helps us with projects and contributes towards these type of things. This is a small park, but it's going to look beautiful from the renderings. My question is, we're volunteering our labor, but what do you anticipate being future maintenance involved, if any, for labor from there on out due to the bushes and the shrubs? And is it significant or just very little?
That's a great question. To answer what I'm weighing out right now, I want to make sure I understand your question, but are we going to see a significant increase in the amount of maintenance that we're doing in that park, I believe is probably what you're asking. Based on what we're looking at here, I would say no. We're already maintaining that area with, grass cutting and trimming of whatever needs to be trimmed. So you're not really adding a lot of really intricate decorations or anything like that. Some hedges being trimmed while we're cutting the grass isn't going to significantly impact operations.
That's all I had.
Yeah, just a comment. It's certainly a testimony of the city staff that is behind the project. I understand there's volunteer hours going to go into to doing the installation as well, right?
Yeah, I couldn't speak to exactly how many, but
Yeah, it doesn't. That's fine. I just admire that as well. And there's cash donation coming from the Friends of NSB Park. Is that right?
yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for doing it. Is there a motion to approve item 7, Mike?
So moved.
Second?
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, it's approved. Item 7, November, is consider the approval of a street sweeping bid. I pulled that and wanted to understand why only one bid and why did Daytona Beach not renew their with this company. Any insight on that?
Yes, Mayor Cleveland, I have insight on that. Best to answer your question, I think to the recommendation of the commission, we've always looked to other municipalities to see kind of what they're doing.
Yeah.
I reached out to every municipality on the eastern seaboard within earshot. I stood at the booth of someone selling one of the street sweeping machines during the American Public Works Conference in Jacksonville, just talking to any municipality that was coming by, why are you looking at one of these? Every possible avenue we could figure out what companies did this, we tried to reach out to during this bid process. Only one response came in, and that's why only one bid. So there really aren't companies participating in this. So to answer your question, why only one bid? Lack of competition, I think, would be my most direct answer.
Do most cities do their own and buy the equipment themselves?
The reason we're no longer piggybacking off of Daytona's contract is that they've brought it in-house, yes. That's it, and that's accurate. Most cities that I've spoken with in our similar situation are.
And this thing is a maintenance nightmare to maintain, and that's why we want to go outside and let somebody else maintain it?
A maintenance nightmare to maintain. Yes, I'd have to quantify maintenance nightmare, but
Yeah.
it's a contract nightmare as well to maintain. We have to spend significant staff hours doing oversight and responding to any complaints.
And this is a different vendor than we have today?
It is not.
It is not?
It is not.
And I know that city manager's not pleased with the guy that we've got right now. The guy's
That's
is
accurate,
at the
sir.
Indy 500 and leaving most of the dirt.
It is fair to say that I spend a fair number of hours dealing with complaints.
Okay.
That's fair.
Just like to remind everybody that we declined to put a street sweeper for maintenance ops in the budget.
Yeah.
So we,
Lesser of all the evils.
yeah, so what we got, right?
I have to give a shout to Kevin. He's followed this contractor 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And also, Vice Mayor Hartman asked me during the briefing about the GPS. So he gets the GPS reports to make sure, because we pay per mile. So this is not the greatest contractor that we would like to have, but it's only our only option. And so we're going to take this year to evaluate whether we will bring it back in-house or not, because that is not an easy task as well, because I've been in that road on both sides. So, but thanks, Kevin, for following up on it.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin. Is there a motion, any more discussion? Is there a motion to approve item 7 November?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. How about item 7, Oscar, which is the K-9 department, additional dogs? I pulled that one as well. Chief, if there's a chance to talk about the total cost of operations in addition to buying the dogs, is there a reason we don't do shared use between the cities? And as I understand it, one dog, one trainer, one lead, and that affiliation bond is important. And perhaps you share between, you do respond if neighboring city needs help, you take your K-9 unit there, and they would do the same for us.
That's correct, Mayor.
Got it. What's the cost to operate it?
So the total cost of the program is about $5,000 a year, $2,500 per dog.
Okay, good. Appreciate that. Thank you for the insight. Is there a motion to, any other discussion on this? Motion to approve item 7, Oscar.
So moved.
Second.
And Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Item 7P is the purchase of 5 parking kiosks. Whose is that?
I pulled it.
I think you go first.
So
Commissioner
the
Perine, go right ahead.
question is obvious. The same question I have is what the public comments were. Why are we getting this, and can we hold off on this and patch what we have, since we would love to have data-driven software versus kiosk?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how long will these last, and do we really need them?
Thanks, Commissioner Perine. So the best guy to answer that is our supervisory parking ambassador, Jack Dwyer. So I'm going to have Jack come on up.
All right, Jack.
Mayor, Commissioners, Collin? Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The same as the public comments, can we hold off on this purchase and substitute it with an app instead? Are you in dire need to have this right now?
Okay, as far as the apps go, and let me explain the kiosks altogether. A lot of people will not connect their credit card or debit card to an app. They won't even use a credit card or debit card on a kiosk, which is why we still take cash. I can continue to work on them. We've had a lot of problems with them. I have replacement parts, but as they get older, it takes longer and longer for them to complete a transaction, and as they get older, they create more problems. So I'm spending more time out in the field pulling these things apart and trying to figure out what's wrong with them and get them put back together.
My question is the cost of downtime. In other words, there are those of us who are eager to expand paid parking and feel that this is something we can do quickly and easily. If we wait to replace these parking kiosks with the downtime that we're experiencing, how much revenue are we losing when the kiosks are down? That's a concern.
Yeah. Our kiosks, as you know, are bringing in well over $1 million a year, probably $1 million, $4 million.
So if we went ahead and got the 50,000, we would probably recoup that
in a couple of weekends.
While we are continuing on the path to find a better overall solution. Is that a fair assessment?
In a way, yes. let me explain that because of the atmosphere that we have here, the salt in the air. Colin's been you've realized this in the past. The salt we have in the air, the sand, if we go something with a very high-tech electronics, those electronics will attract salt. And when you attract salt, what you do is little by little, all your wiring will begin to dry rot. And most of these machines are put together with harnesses. Okay, so in order to replace a harness, you have to take all the guts out, pull all the harnesses out, rerun them. I would be spending a lot more time putting them together. And just one more thing, if you look at the bids, they're giving us a 40% discount.
Which is great, but I would also hope, I consider this a Band-Aid, just to keep our revenue stream going. But I think we really need to be consulting with other oceanfront communities that are using parking kiosks, because I think we're going to need kiosks for a while yet, despite apps, and to find their experience with resilience in the ocean air. We know it's a problem, and either we find out that we have to budget to replace these things every X number of years, or we find some vendor that has a model that is sufficiently sealed that it can withstand it. You pick one, you get one, whatever, but it gives us some time to make a thoughtful decision about the next phase. How's that?
Any other comments?
How many of these kiosks in total in the city do you have?
We presently have 14, okay? And in answer to Commissioner Martin's comment, T2 Systems, which is the company that builds our kiosks, is the largest provider of kiosks, probably in the whole central part of the United States. They are in all over Louisiana. They're all over Florida, from top to bottom. I can't, and I've done a lot of research. I've researched probably more than a year of all the different kiosks and parking machines that we could use. And I can't find anything that, at this price, that's going to outlast what we have.
I will only comment that I think that for the beachfront areas, we are going to have to move into marine grade type equipment. We're not prepared to do it today.
I agree.
Thanks for the comment. Jack, is there a forcing function? Have you guys done any research on the app? And is there any reason why you would?
Okay, as far as the app goes, we looked at a bunch of companies. And again, we use T2 for our kiosks. We use them for their server, okay? They offer something called a text-to-pay, where you don't have to download an app, so it's not as if you're going to download something and worry about getting something in your phone or, you know, so it's called text-to-pay. And the research I've done on that is that there has been no complaints, no problems, nobody complaining that their phones have been hacked. So that's kind of why we went with that.
Yeah, so text to pay doesn't use kiosks either, right?
It's actually the kiosk company.
Yeah, it's a kiosk company, but there's no fixture.
There's no fixture, no.
Yeah. I just worry we're kicking the can, and we're not going to have a forcing function to ever get to the best technology, the newest technology, which doesn't have any cost of infrastructure. And that's not your problem, that's our problem. But I just would caution us all that this will work, and we'll keep, it'll keep us afloat, and we'll get some good money in the door. But as we expand to the new, we listen to the parking task force, and we start going citywide with that, now you've got, well, if I want to park here, I'd play it this way. If I want to park there, I got to play it that way. So well, I think that's problematic.
And in answer to your comment, the county used to have these little sensors all at all the entrance ramps to the beach. And because, again, of where we live and the salt water and sand and whatnot, they don't even bother with them anymore. They actually ripped them all out, and they didn't replace them. So, I mean, it's great technology. I don't know if it'll be good here, but I guess it's something we could look into in the future.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, sir.
So I had a question about the funding source. Where's the funds coming to buy these?
Parking fund.
Okay, because it said in the staff report, it said the capital equipment replacement fund,
It should be parking fund.
just so that we're clear on that.
That's good.
That's not what the staff report
I
said.
think maybe they have a line item in their budget that is called capital, but it's coming from the parking fund.
In the parking fund? Okay.
And Jack, how much would it be to convert to that text to pay? And why aren't we using that instead of kiosks?
The text to pay is going to cost us, I believe it's 2.5% per transaction, so it'll be about 25 cents on the boat ramps, and it'll be 50
Jack,
cents.
I think we have new information for you, so he's coming. It's 39 cents a transaction.
Yeah, Captain, we checked with the company today. It's going to be 38 cents, but that's 38 cents for the entire fee. So if it's a $10 fee, the company keeps 38 cents of that.
For every transaction or every dollar?
No,
So
for
it's
every transaction, for every
Thank you.
parking fee, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the parking kiosk experts?
Yeah. And by the way, Mayor, I'm the one who installed the first kiosk, and I've done a lot of research on the materials used. I've contacted most of the ocean cities around Florida and around everywhere. When we purchased those machines, they were supposed to be a 5-year, have a warranty on rust. The inside is what the problem. When I was talking to Commissioner Martin during briefing, she mentioned the Utilities Commission, that she contacted them and they said they use them, they have no problem. I contacted Joe today, Joe Bunch, and he said, well, I don't know who she talked to, but we do have some issues. Like the actual cabinet, it's a stainless steel, so it's no problem. The wires, they're copper. But the inside of this machine is what Jack said. That's where the issue is. I don't know how many parts he replaced inside. The machine outside is fine. So that's what the issue is. I don't think that contacting the ocean cities, they will tell you the same thing. 5, 6 years, you got to replace the inside parts, and I think that's what you have to do. But right now, I'm not sure if you don't purchase these ones, are you able to operate and get revenue? Okay.
Yeah, I just favor the technology. It's where I think we need to go. And I hear you that some people don't have a credit card, some people don't want to do any of that. And in the cities that I've been to, they don't get to park there. You either play the game as it's dealt by the city or not. And so we'll have to make that decision.
Well,
when
our
it comes.
attitude has always been to offer the convenience
I
to
understand
our
it.
guests as much as we can.
Sure, I get it. It's a polite thing to do. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, is there a motion to approve item 7, Oscar?
So moved.
I'm sorry, I have the wrong one.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you, Lisa.
7.
Item 7, Papa.
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
No.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
No. Okay, motion carries. I think that's the end of the consent agenda, and now we're on to administrative and new business. The item that we deferred was item 7Q. May I, just for parliamentary sake, may I have a motion to reconsider a previous decision by the commission?
And it needs
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
made by this half of the bench
Right.
because you were the prevailing side.
Yeah. Is there a motion to reconsider and to discuss the half marathon?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk? Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, the motion carries, and now we can have a discussion about it. So the item is the approval of Shark Bite Expo, half marathon and 5K, along with a feeding frenzy 5K on January 13 and 14, 2024. Is there a discussion on it? Yes, ma'am.
The thing that confused me again was the details on whether or not all of the streets on Riverside were either going to be, the ones that are blocked by the river, are they going to be closed? Or are they going to, if they are closed, then are they going to allow police to be there to let the residents out of those streets?
They will be able, Commissioner Perrine, they will be able, I asked Rob, and the ones that they're east of Riverside, they will be able to cross and go. Because it's a soft closing, it's not the whole entire closing, so.
Do they just move the barricades themselves? Because that's what
No,
they've
they
had
will
to do
be,
in past years.
I think my understanding, there will be some either citizens on patrol or some organizers from them or a police officer, so.
Yes, that's correct. The organizer is also here this evening if you have questions specific that we can get into operations of the marathon better, so. Okay.
Yes. Hi.
All right, good evening. So
who
your
are you,
concern
sir?
was for, excuse me?
Your name?
Joe Matuzak with Red Pointer Productions. We do the shark bite. So is your question for Sunday, the half marathon?
Yes.
So on Sunday, the half marathon, as I put together in the thing, we do go on, both North and South Riverside. Neither of them are closed. South Riverside is not closed at all. The runners are on the road. There's no barricades. There's no anything. I have a water station that's right underneath the bridge, and I have some volunteers at 9th Street making sure that they make the turn. On North Riverside, there are officers and COP officers that are on both sides at Wayne and then at Riverside and Washington, I think that is, that are like kind of letting the flow of traffic go through when it needs to. That's the second mile of the race, so it's still kind of bunched up right there. That's why when we go over the safety plan with NSPD, we have the officers in that location. But other than that, like Riverside is not closed.
Okay,
So-
that's good, because the residents told me there's a few that they actually had to move the barricades in the past on South Riverside.
No,
So is this different than
No,
past years?
no, this is exactly how it's been. On Saturday evening, when we had the feeding frenzy, being that it was at night, we came up with the game plan that like a closed Riverside was the safest Riverside because it was, right at getting dark. We try to finish before it actually gets dark, but when we came up with the game plan saying, hey, if we close this thing, there's no traffic on there, so that's closed for about an hour. And in fact, like my staff opens it up as the last runner walker is going. So it's an out and back, so at a little over 1.5 miles, which if you're walking could be 25 minutes, it's being opened up right behind them.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you so much for the clarification.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Just a general comment.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Martin, go ahead.
I heard I got a lot of emails from runners asking me to approve the race. And I'm perfectly happy for the runners. My concern is the residents and businesses from which I heard nothing, and I'm going to guess they're not aware. So I will be, voting to approve it, but it's very disconcerting to only hear from those who are for something and not know if the day after I'll be then hearing from businesses and residents saying, why did you allow that?
So my office reached out to FABA, and they had no issues with the event.
I'm sorry?
FABA, we spoke to FABA on Flagler.
Okay, but that's not the residents.
I understand, but I'm answering half of your concern. So they didn't
Thank
have
you.
an issue.
As I said, what do I hear the next day?
And I guess the only other thing is it's not a first-year event, so it's not like we're guessing how people are going to take it. Being that it's been 8 years, have we heard this complaint in the past? And if we have, I would love to find a way to make it work. I mean, like, I take pride in this event. Like, I try to showcase what New Smyrna Beach has. You know, the last thing I want to do is upset the masses, and it's one of those things when you put on a bigger event, you're never going to make everyone happy, but for the most part, I think if you haven't been out, I encourage you to come and check it out firsthand. I mean,
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Thank you,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
Appreciate that. Is there a motion to approve this item?
I'll make that motion,
So
please.
motion
second.
And a second to approve the Shark Bite Expo Half Marathon and 5K, along with the Feeding Frenzy 5K on January 13th and 14th, 2024. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. On to administrative items and new business. Item 8A is the solar option for the city buildings, and Maintenance Ops has a brief for us.
Thank you, Mayor. So what you have in your packet tonight is in the result of a solar feasibility study that was done in 2019. And then in January of 2023, Commission charged staff with kind of updating those numbers. And what you're looking at is one example of one proposal from one entity. This is not necessarily, we haven't gone out to bid, we haven't gone through any of that. This is for you guys to get a look at it, to see kind of what our thought process would be, how we would approach the task, and then basically give us direction prior to investing a lot of staff time and effort into a project that maybe didn't have the backing. So if you look at this here, basically we've looked at the age of, we've looked at they've highlighted 3 facilities here, Babe James, Coronado, and Live Oak. And what we looked at is what's the years remaining on the roof life, so how would it impact the structure. We've talked to our insurance company. We have looked at what's the kilowatt usage for each of those buildings, what would be the return, so how much energy would we save each year, what would that be in dollars, what would our insurance costs be, things like that. So this is a sample. Based on this sample, you have a recommendation of what building we would choose if this were the final numbers for us, but it's to give you a preview and then ask your direction.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the brief. Any questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? So with this stuff, I haven't worked with you a whole lot on this, but in the past, I've let Dave Ray know, is the goal here to do something that is good for the environment, or is this for cost effectiveness? Because let me say this, I always want to know the difference, because previously, I've heard some arguments for this being cost effective. Let me give you an example. LED lights at the sports complex. It was billed as a cost savings. When I did the simple math, it didn't take into account any repairs to the lights. And it took into account that it was a 30-year light. So there are a lot of problems with that. So first question is this a cost effectiveness, or is this something that we want to do as part of a good thing for the my apologies, it's getting late. Is this an environmental project?
Yeah, it's a very valid question. I think that's something that we would want to hash out through the course of the project. I think we would be asking Commission for the direction of go and reduce our energy consumption, or would you be directing us to find ways to save money at each of our facilities, with solar being one of the options?
So what I'm going to say is I want both. I want to know actually what the true cost is.
Sure.
And then I want to make a determination based on whether it's an environmental goodness that we're doing, but it may cost us more. It goes back to the old Prius.
Mm-hmm.
You could buy a Prius, you're going to pay much more for the car. The cost savings in gas was never going to be a financial benefit.
Yeah.
As long as we're talking straight numbers, we're talking straight numbers. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna,
that was one of the
and I'm gonna
aspects.
test you. What I'll
Sure.
do is I'm just giving you a heads up. I will test you on that.
No, it's great.
Let me ask you, what kind of roof do we have on the Live Oak Center?
On the 507, I'm sorry?
What kind of roof? What's the roof made of?
On Live Oak Center, is that what you said? I thought you said 507, so, but Live Oak Center.
Yeah.
It's a metal roof?
Okay.
Sure.
So I can tell you that insurance, I have a metal roof, 50-year roof, but it's not.
But it's not.
And
yeah.
insurance is the best they're gonna give me is 25 years on that. Same thing we hear with the shingles. I buy a 25-year shingle, after 15 to 18 years, your best quality shingle, your insurance is gonna make you replace. So when I look at these numbers, I start working the numbers, and I just wanna be sure that in the future, and I'm speaking more to my commission as I am to you, I wanna make sure if we're gonna claim that it's cost-effective, I'm gonna test those numbers, and I'm gonna want maintenance and repairs, and I'm gonna want guarantees. If we use somebody who says that these solar panels are 15 or 20-year panels, then I want a guarantee on it, because I can tell you, a lot of times they'll say these things, and they won't give you a guarantee. So I want a maintenance schedule included in all the costs too, so just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples when we do this.
When we presented these, or when we would present these numbers in this example that we've given you today, we looked at break-even point, so that you guys could kind of decide amongst yourselves, is this a fair break-even point, or is this not a good break-even point for our investment? So
Well, that break-even point needs to include the maintenance of the solar panels.
Yeah.
How much what is the lifespan of the existing roof?
I think we'd have to do a lot of research too, into
Right.
what experience have other municipalities had with this. Given that this would be our first foray into it, if given the direction to move forward with this project and do it, we'd probably do an RFP where we would ask for proposals and talk to other municipalities.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, would the installation of the solar panels void the roof warranty, which has been one consideration brought up? Also, I don't think those roof years would, that the insurance industry would support the current number of years on those roofs.
Fair.
So those are number two, those two are my top two. And just sort of mentioning again, a passive and inexpensive method to reduce electrical consumption, primarily air conditioning, is the use of high LRV paint on the exteriors. Substances are also available for roof coatings to reflect sun and cool interiors. So just the simple act of the paint that we choose and the color of the roof impacts our electrical use and our cost. So both environmentally and financially.
I've
Do you
come
know what I
across
mean
that
by
in our-
high LRV paint?
in our fuel tank research, actually, the type of paint that you use on your fuel tank would determine whether or not you get a lot of separation of the fuel.
So you can see on that, there is now an ultra white paint that reportedly reduces the temperature of the interior by 10 degrees just through the use of the paint. It's that kind of reflective value. So it's not a cure, but it doesn't void any insurance, it doesn't void any warranty, and it's really low cost, so it's just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Perrine.
So my biggest concern's insurance, all the wind we have and all the hurricanes. And I did speak to several insurance adjusters. And I received a text and an email from some, and I asked to share, but I don't know if it got shared because Ms. Kelly was out today. So this insurance adjuster said if the roof is ever damaged from a storm, solar panels are very expensive to remove and reinstall. If the solar panels are damaged during a storm, will the insurance policy cover all of this? The other thing is I've sold a lot of homes in Volusia County, and 9 out of 10 times that I've sold a home with solar panels, they didn't work. They failed during inspection. So there's a lot of maintenance involved with these. And as you can see with our Live Oak building now, with the mold and the AC maintenance, we don't do a real bang-up job on our maintenance throughout the city. So to put on more maintenance and more labor for either while it's under warranty and then it shifts to us after the warranty, my vote is going to be no to any solar panels regardless. So I'm going to say don't even research it because I'm going to vote no regardless of the answer.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Kevin? Thank you for your presentation. City Manager, any enlightenment?
No, I talked to a couple of insurance, and I talked to the utilities as well, because Mayor, you mentioned during the briefing about them using solar. I talked to Joe this morning. They're not actually using themselves solar, but they're through a third party. They will be using power through like some farm that they have. And he indicated that if we need to use that, they will, they'll provide it, but they don't really have a solar per se to be installed. The one thing that Commissioner Martin said, and that is true, that if you put a solar panel on your roof, you jeopardize the warranty on your roof. That's one. The other thing with companies now, even though if your life expectancy on the roof is 25, and the insurance adjuster go out there and he say, well, to him it looks like it needs to be replaced now, they would not give you insurance until if you replace it. So.
Appreciate that. And connectivity with the UC, which is the lane I thought they were in, if we were going to buy power, they would provide solar power.
I think they have, I was at the Utilities Commission meeting yesterday, and I can't swear to it, but I think that Efren said that they are now getting 35% of their power
from solar.
From not just solar, no, clean. They use clean energy sources.
Wind.
In July of 2024, that will be some of it coming, and then I guess it was supposed to be this April, but now it's July of 2024 that when through the third party that they would receive some power.
Well, we're probably because we're through the consortium, but I think the consortium is already providing some electricity from clean sources. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's clearly on the, on the radar for the UC to be using clean energy sources.
And Mayor, if the commission chose to proceed with this, we will evaluate the roof and everything before we do anything, just to make sure that we don't jeopardize the warranty and we don't jeopardize the roof and so forth. So,
is there a motion?
So I started this process in 2017 when we replaced the roof on the gym and was told, no, we needed to wait until the Live Oak Center was done and we could build the roof specifically to hold those solar panels and it would be a brand new roof. And it's been kicked down the road since then. And it's always been, when we did the initial feasibility study, it was an entire study on the paint, the windows, how much insulations were in the building, and what were the true energy saving costs that we could concur with this. So that was the original feasibility study that was done. And then, then we moved from the Live Oak. We were going to do the maintenance op building. It never got built. And so we kept kicking this can down the road. And then when we got the ARPA money, we set aside the $300,000 from ARPA specifically for a solar project. For every person you say, tells you it won't work, it doesn't work, they won't insure it, you'll find somebody that says, oh, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So this was supposed to be a pilot program. This was the only way that we would know for sure whether or not this truly was a cost savings to us as a city and whether or not we could get the kind of lifetime or the years out of a panel or a roof that everybody says they're going to, whatever, the salesman will sell you anything they want to sell you, anything you want to buy. So this was going to be our pilot program, and that's the reason why we set the money aside, the ARPA money aside, to do a project like this and do the true initial, get the data, do the evaluation. Where were we, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and are we truly? Is it truly worth something to go forward? So this idea with the UC buying solar power, it's interesting that your solar power, your clean energy power, your coal power, everything comes through the same transmission lines. So you tell me how you can determine if the electricity that comes through that overhead power lines from way out west, is it a solar, is it gas, is it coal, and is that going to your house, or is it going to our city building? So it's the plan is fine, and I recently talked to someone who's big into the energy business, in fact, builds nuclear power plants, and he says a lot of these large companies that have built these solar farms are now having problems because when they went out for bid and went into design, they could borrow money at 1% or 2%. They're now paying 9% now that they're going into construction, and it's no longer cost effective for them to do the plants that they originally thought, and they're actually trying to bail out of the whole process. So you can get anybody to tell you anything you want to know, and you'll get both sides of the story. So that was the whole point of this whole project back in 2017, was let's do a pilot program. Let's see, is it cost effective? Do we save energy? Is it worth it or not before we invest any more money or take a long-term effect? So I would make a motion that we proceed with this program and do our pilot program, do our study, and then we'll have hard data for the next commission and the commission after that to make a decision going forward.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Excellent. I'm delighted that history lesson is worth its weight in gold. Commissioner Hartman, thank you for that. You changed my mind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner McGirt.
Yes, so I agree. We're talking about going forward on this specific building. What do we actually, what's the motion for?
To go forward with the solar plan not to exceed a $300,000 that we've already put ARPA funds aside for. That's what we agreed we would do.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I understand.
So I'm not saying which building it is. I think that's something that this is going to have to evaluate. You could do Coronado and Live Oak, but Coronado's beachside, you're going to have the corrosion issues. So are we better off to do Babe James? Babe James is one building for the entire
So
amount.
okay.
So I think that's...
I'm going to support up the money set aside for the pilot as a test program. I want to be I just want to be very careful that we actually collect really good data that's not skewed one way or the other. So,
Any other comments, further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
My overriding concern would be the insurance industry and how the relationship between insurance companies and roofs has changed over the last 5 or 6 years. So that when we were originally setting time and money aside to set up for this pilot program, we had a much more reasonable expectation that the lifetime of a roof would be anywhere close to what the warranty was. And that expectation's been taken away from us. So I just think that important factors have changed since the original very good concept of a pilot program.
Well, to that point, the insurance companies that you've contacted or had discussion, are you talking residential or commercial? Because there's a big difference in the type of material that is used.
I agree.
Or what's been bid out and the specs on that. And I believe that most of our buildings were self-insured. Are we not? On most of them?
They're insured through the Florida League of Cities. So.
Right. So,
Kevin talked to them, and I talked to a local insurance agent. But again, it's a, as you said, it's a pilot project. Before we do it, my suggestion is let's not spend the $300,000. I think what you have is for the Live Oak, I think it's $85,000. Am I correct? Yeah. I mean, use that as a pilot project. But before we do that, we will do all the legwork in terms of the roof, contacting the insurance, have them look at the roof, and do that before we even proceed with the project. So that would be my suggestion, if you want to do as a pilot project.
Could we ask?
Commissioner Martin?
I'm sorry. I was just curious. We're using a break even of 9.4, and I'm just curious which factors are into that, because, you know, if we're using all of today's dollars, certain costs that are used to factor into that might dramatically increase and put the breakout, you know, to 20 years.
That's a very good
which point?
Yep. So for the education of everyone, on these numbers, I used a flat rate of today's energy costs. So in order to change your break-even point, that would probably be the biggest impact, is the rising or lowering of energy costs over time. Yes.
So we are only using electrical, as a, when we say,
In order to calculate the break-even
the
point.
break-even is
Yeah, we look at the
calculated
cost to
purely.
install, we look at the cost of insurance. And these are quick numbers, so don't think
Yeah,
that this is
I know.
it. And we are operating under this company's guarantee that they guarantee their panels for life, so we're assuming zero maintenance on our part. Again, this is off of just one proposal. So I believe that we would go through our traditional, either a request for a proposal or an invitation to bid. We would write up all of the documents and before moving forward. This is an example. This is in no way a recommendation of this company or anything like that.
Okay, no, I understand it, but our most optimum prediction is a break-even of 9.4.
Based on the numbers that we have off of this.
Most optimum. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Commissioner Hartman, would you restate your motion, please, sir?
Motion that we go ahead and proceed with the solar project, not to exceed the 300,000 that's set aside by the ARPA.
Second.
And a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Perine?
No.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Okay, that one carries. And now on to item 8B, which is the consider the approval for an RFP for executive search firm for the city manager recruitment. I believe Director Kidd is here with a report.
Good evening.
Heather, before you start, let me just make sure that I sent the commission a final revised draft. We had a proofreader on our city staff and the commission that they proofread the documents. So anyway, I sent you the final revised. It didn't really change the content, but I think we appreciate Commissioner Martin for all her corrections. So.
May I
Go ahead.
state only that I did not read the final draft. I couldn't.
There were only two more
And you
changes
shouldn't.
that were very simple. No. And that's why we marked everything as a draft also, so that you know, so that it was a draft. We will go through it all one more time before we go to final. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for letting me present tonight. We wanted to give you an update, as Khalid said, on the RFP for the executive search firm for our city manager, so that if you have any other concerns or comments, we can make sure that we put those in before we get this out. Just as some quick background that we all know, but we'll just say it one more time. Our city manager is retiring after 35 years of service here in August of 2024. At the September 26th commission meeting, you all directed me to begin the RFP process so that we could locate an executive search firm to conduct our city manager recruitment. Myself and staff, along with our purchasing agent, have created the draft RFP for commission consideration and approval. The details, I won't read all of this through. You've seen it in my staff report. It's there, and it's in the RFP, but just as a real quick, the RFP process will lay out everything that we're asking the interested consultants to give to us. We are asking that we are seeking proposals from experienced and qualified executive search firms to conduct a nationwide search to fill the executive position of city manager. We'll ask them to be licensed. We'll ask them to have a minimum of 5 years of experience recruiting city managers or other high-level public sector professionals. We'll ask them to be able to demonstrate their capability, their past experience, and their expertise. And of course, we'll need them to be insured and meet any applicable insurance requirements that we require for that. We'll ask them to provide us a detailed executive summary that will let us know exactly what they plan to do. We'll ask them for examples of their prior experience and success rate. We'll also ask them to actually describe their past performance and experiences in this recruiting. We'll ask them for references from other public sector searches that they've done. Of course, we'll need a total cost. And then we'll also want to make sure that they have a proof of understanding of the project and project requirements, and some of that will come from discussion with you all. The details of their approach and methods to be used in the project are also something that we'll want to see so that you can make an informed decision on who we select at the end of this. The scope of work is what we're actually going to ask them to do. This is included in the RFP and asking them to provide details for all of these things. We'll ask them to develop and implement a recruiting campaign, designing and placing announcements of the open position. We'll want them to conduct a nationwide outreach to potential applicants. They'll need to accept and review all of the applications. We'll ask them to do a screening of our candidates and develop a short list of 12 candidates so that we can present 6 to the commission. We'll need them to prepare and present a portfolio on each candidate that comes to the commission so that you'll have a full portfolio that you can review each candidate you're looking at. Then we'll have them coordinate a staff interview as you suggested during the last meeting. We'll schedule one-on-one interviews with each of the commission members, and then we'll also schedule a group interview at a commission meeting for the public to view and offer questions if that's allowed by you all. They will conduct the preliminary background and reference checks on those 12 candidates that we select, and then we'll also ask them to do our full background for hire upon completion of the selection that we do. And then we'll need them to work on negotiating a contract with your selected candidate. In the past, I know that a commission member has been designated to assist with the negotiations, and the city attorney reviews the negotiated contract. That's where we'll need to make some decisions if that's how you want to proceed with that and do that. And then, of course, we'll ask them to notify our candidates that are not selected. During the selection of the actual RFP for our consultant, a selection committee has been put together that consists of myself, the Human Resources Director, our Assistant City Attorney, Shay McCurdy, and our Police Chief, Eric Feldman. We'll review all of the submittals to the RFP. The committee will review and score all the submittals that meet the minimum qualifications, and then the ratings are all there of how we'll go through and we'll rate those for you. Assuming that we receive at least 3 submittals, we'll present a minimum of 3 proposers to the City Commission meeting as a special public meeting. And the invited proposers will give a short presentation for you so that you can make your decisions from there. You'll select one of the proposers as your consultant for the executive search firm for the search for our city manager. And after awarding the contract, I'll issue the purchase order. I'll take care of all those items for you that would be administrative. We've come up based on everything that we've done and working with our purchasing agent on timelines that we're required to meet. We've come up with a tentative schedule. With your approval tonight, we would like to have the RFP issue noticed in the Daytona Beach News Journal and on OpenGov on October 27th. November 9th would be the deadline for any written questions from the proposers that I would need to answer for them. November 29th would be our proposals submission deadline at 2 p.m. with our purchasing agent opening those bids at 3 p.m. December 7th is when the review committee would meet so that we could go through all of the proposals and we can do our scoring and get everything that we need back to our purchasing agent. And then I put a date as to be determined when we have our selected proposers make the presentations to the commission for selection. We'll just need to work with the commission and our city clerk to schedule that date for you. Just to review our fiscal analysis, we did put this in the original budget that we worked on for this year. Typical outside consulting contracts range anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 depending on the services that we contract. We did put the $50,000 amount into our budget for fiscal year 24 in anticipation of this. We also wanted to note that some consultants include in their proposals travel and lodging costs for the candidates. We're recommending that this not be included in part of the awarded contract because those contracts sometimes will inflate anywhere from 15 to 20% for those costs. We actually kind of ran some numbers and looked at and budgeted $9,300 for travel and lodging costs associated with the recruitment process. So that's covered and we won't need that from a consultant. That's what we've got in our RFP. I'm here to answer any questions and get anything set up. If there's any changes that you'd like to make based on the draft that we sent you, I'm here to take that information also.
Thank you for the briefing, Heather. Appreciate that. Commissioner Perrine.
I just have a few questions. How do we get from the 12 to 6?
That will be narrowed down. We'll have 12 that we will select. We'll take the top 6 is what we'll present to you, but then we'll have backups. Should, with timing, we lose someone in that process, should somebody withdraw, or we find something in a preliminary background check that we think we don't want to proceed with them.
Is that the selection committee that does that, the 3 staff members?
That would be through the consultant, working with the consultant.
Does that.
Mhm.
And then the 3 staff members, the chief and you and the assistant attorney, do you guys have specific duties to determine, like, you don't run the background checks, you just rate them?
This is
correct?
the only thing that we'll be doing is rating the consultants that, or the proposers that submit an RFP and presenting those to you that meet the criteria.
My only concern, and I think Khalid answered it, is that the background checks need to be thorough, but he stated to me that that is going to come down to the final 2 or 3 candidates to make sure that they have a full criminal background check, and if they've been fired, what were they fired for?
Yes.
And that type of thing. So I understand we don't do that in the beginning, but that is definitely going to be the final screening, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Any candidates that we bring down to probably our top 3 will probably go, and we can work this out in our contract with the proposer or the consultant that's selected. We can do any level of background checks that we usually do. We would, at a minimum, do a full nationwide background search. We do a fingerprint search. We do a credit check. And then they would go and contact all of their previous employers to make sure there's nothing there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Martin.
Oh, I'm very good. They've heard more than they should from me these last few days.
Okay, very good. Commissioner McGurk.
Just briefly, what are you going to use, or how are you going to reach out to or select this specific firm to use to find them?
So that will go through the RFP process. So once we announce this in the News Journal and on OpenGov, any interested firms will have to go through the RFP process and submit their proposals to us.
So what are we going to base that selection on the RFP? I don't want to open-ended
No, you're
questions you. My concern is that, having done this a number of times, believe it or not, with all great intentions, we've gotten some really bad candidates, which I blame the search firm for. So anyway, I just didn't know if there was something specific, or consider something specific that you can use.
We'll actually
test.
start with the review process. In the review process, we've actually outlined that the prior experience, we'll rate them on that. We'll rate them on their past performance. We'll rate them on their references. And so we'll actually score each of the submittals for that, the three members of the committee. We'll go from that. References.
I'm hoping that you guys have some internal insight.
I hope so too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Heather, help me again why the background checks aren't done up front. I'd hate to see if somebody go all the way down the road, get a good candidate and find out stubbed his toe or her toe early on. Why aren't the background checks not earlier?
So we asked them to do a preliminary background check so that and what the consultant, I would assume, will do is a basic Google search, real quick, make sure there's nothing, go to wherever their hometowns are that they're coming from, get that information, they can reach out to the backgrounds. We can actually change that if you prefer that to be done earlier in the process.
It's been my experience in other searches and searches I have undergone and searches I've conducted that if you did that earlier, you won't have any misfires and aw shucks at the end.
May I ask?
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
again, no, I'm just a little confused because the consultants are functionally salespeople, and I would be surprised.
But they don't have a stable of guys already.
No, I understand. No, not that they don't have a stable, but before I would spend time and energy promoting a specific candidate, I'd want to make sure early in the game that candidate wasn't going to blow up in my face.
I agree with you. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. I like
But that
it
wasn't
earlier
up,
than later.
no, I'm just saying that would be up to the consultant, not to us. I would assume that the consultant wouldn't want to play that.
Mayor Cleveland, I would hope that because we're also asking, I don't think I stated it in here, but in the RFP, we are asking the consultants to provide us a guarantee also. And so I would hope that they would do some of their background and some of their homework also on the candidates,
Yeah.
because they're not going to want to have to replace that candidate for free.
Very good. Most of these folks have a stable of people they've already got in the bullpen. Would you consider, Commission, adding 2 more members to that assessment group, other than the Assistant City Attorney, the Police Chief, and the Director of HR? I would commend 2 department heads. First is a former city manager who now serves as our Development Services Director, Shane Corbin. He's been through the process. He knows what to look at. He's had to compete himself. He might be a great perspective to add to the group making the assessment of the RFP. The other in my mind was the Maintenance Ops Director, since he's got such a wide purview of personnel, the largest organization in the outfit. He might offer some interesting insight. Just an idea, just a suggestion.
But they're only picking the RFP firms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that we need to be that particular in picking a firm who's going to go out and look for candidates. I mean,
Okay.
it kind of messes the scoring system up when you get more numbers in there.
Go from 3 to 5.
Yeah, so.
I mean, it really doesn't, you could put 5, you could put 7. I mean, it really, you're selecting the firm to do the search for you.
Right.
I mean, they're not selecting the candidates.
No, and I think Heather's expertise in, the years that she's been in this business, I think she's probably got a pretty good feel for when, some of these companies that are going to be applying anyway, and, certainly even here, we've had 1 or 2 misfires, and so I think we've all learned from mistakes, so.
Definitely.
And this is, by the way, it's a nationwide, so if you know of any firm
right.
that you think, give them the name and they will send them an email or something saying, hey, we have an RFP, if you're interested, go to this website and get it.
So I've contacted the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the president and CEO, and asked for 5 firms, and they've given us 5 firms, 2 of which I've personally used or have been one of their candidates before, Korn Ferry and Spencer Stewart, national names, and there are several others. I'll give those to Jan post haste.
But they would still have to go through the RFP process.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Just want to make sure that we cast the widest possible net.
Okay.
Any other questions for Director Kidd? Okay, thank you, Heather, for your
Thank you.
report. Yep. To direct the staff forward, posting.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Very good. The motion carries. Okay, on to 8C, the discussion of the PACE program, Green Florida Finance Authority. Mr. City Manager, your report, sir.
Yes, Mayor. I'll be quick because I know you listened to the tax collector, but back in 2019, we had an interlocal agreement with a company called Y Green Works. Us and 3 other cities in Volusia County, in southeast Volusia County. When this came about at the roundtable, that's when we asked the tax collector to just kind of come in and give us a brief of what's happening with the program. As he mentioned, we have, I'm not sure if it's 16 or 19, but my concern is just, I don't want to harm the people that they have used the program now. My recommendation in my staff report was to continue the program since there is no issue, and we'll monitor it. But I hear them saying that if we want to, he will keep just using the 16 or the 19, and we stop the program. So I'm going to actually change my recommendation from the staff report to just do that. So we'll discontinue. I have to inform them there is 90-day period But I think it'd be a good idea to do that because it just the numbers, it seems like it's way out of whack. $2,000 a year for 30 years for something that is cost $18,000, it seems like it's way too much.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments or opinions about that, Commissioner McGurk?
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to what College just said, which is we can maintain the current people in our city, the 19 roughly, I think.
Either 16 or 19, but
whatever.
whatever we have on the list.
And that we'll discontinue the interlocal agreement, and then we monitor. So I like the monitor. Keep an eye on them, see what's going on. And if this seems to get figured out or doesn't escalate, I'll certainly be willing to entertain and re-entering into an interlocal agreement with this organization, down the road.
Thank you. Any other discussion? The chair would entertain a motion to remove and discontinue the program.
Make that motion that we discontinue the program, have the tax collector's office maintain the current applicants, and we'll monitor for a period of about 12 months to see what's going on.
Perfect. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
I
Motion
will
carries.
I will send them a letter informing them, and also I will inform Mr. Roberts of our action.
Perfect. Okay, at this time, we're going to do item 9A, which is a quasi-judicial hearing. Be conducted, consider the approval of a special exception application number 5-23, which if adopted would allow storage of vehicles and equipment on the property located at 1311 North Dixie Freeway. So we will do this quasi-judicial hearing now, and those rules will apply. First hear from Stephanie Doster, who's here in place of our senior planner, and we're ready for your report, ma'am.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me. Okay, so we have our applicants, Dennis and Sherry Campbell of 408 Quayasisi, New Smyrna Beach, request a special exception to approval to allow outdoor storage pods, vehicle, and equipment at 1311 North Dixie Freeway. You guys should be familiar with this site, and I do want to just add a little clarification that prior to our P&Z meeting, they were also requesting warehouse mini storage, but before we went into the P&Z meeting, that was withdrawn because they were focusing on their outdoor storage. So I just wanted to make sure there was no confusion on that. So the parcel, as I said, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with. It is south of Industrial Park Avenue, north of Pond Street on the east side of North Dixie Freeway. This is part of the former Mullinex Ford dealership. It's 2.59 acres in the B3 Business Service District. On May 23rd, the City Commission heard a special exception application for auto sales. It was approved 4-1. Since then, since that City Commission meeting, the owners have put the property up for sale, and the Campbells here are our potential buyers. They have plans to develop the property with a variety of uses. One use, which is the main use, is cool box portable storage containers, which would be located behind a new 8-foot tall wall. The wall would be parallel to US 1, about 30 feet in on the property. The containers vary in size from about 8x12 to 8x20. The empty containers basically are brought to an applicant's house, a customer's home, filled up, brought back here for storage, and they are temperature controlled, so they provide air conditioning so that things do not get moldy in our nice Florida heat. In addition, the applicant is interested in storing boats and recreational vehicles. Obviously, that would also be behind the new 8-foot wall. The containers, boats, and recreation vehicles would largely be hidden, and these vehicles and storage containers require a special exception. There are other proposed uses on the property, but they are permitted uses, so they're not needing any special exceptions. The applicant has expressed their intent, these are the storage cubes that they are proposing. They currently have a location in Edgewater with these storage cubes. This is showing them in front of a 6-foot fence, and they are proposing an 8-foot wall on our location. So the applicant's intent is to really clean up this property. They want to make it look nice. They will be owner-operators. They will be maintaining this themselves. Along the front, they're planning to remove that black chain link fencing. They're planning to paint the front. You can see here there'll be storefront glass with a glass door entrance. And on the right-hand side there, you can see the 8-foot wall that's proposed. In addition to the other uses that I mentioned, on the north side of the property, there are bays that were maybe mechanic bays or storage bays. They are proposing to use those for maybe like antique car storage, rent them out for antique car storage. And then that main building that was a sales office will be rented out as office units. And then in the rear, there is a large flex space that can be divided up and used for other uses that are within the permitted uses of the B3 zoning district. So per our B3 Highway Service Business District special exception requirements, outdoor storage and sales of vehicles and other equipment or materials, provided that in the interest of safety to children and adjacent properties and outdoor storage areas, will be encompassed by a fence or a wall at least 6 feet in height. Obviously, their 8-foot tall wall will meet that requirement. We'll keep going here. Yeah. And there are the basic special exception criteria. There's the 3 main that the request is listed as a special exception use. This is that it will not impair the character surrounding or adjoining district nor be detrimental to the public health, and staff finds that it would not be, and that there are adequate utilities on the property, and it does currently is served with utilities. The Planning and Zoning Board has reviewed this application and the required criteria. On October 2nd, Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to pass a recommendation of approval to City Commission and request that the outdoor storage pods, vehicle, and equipment storage behind the proposed 8-foot wall be approved with the following conditions: that they obtain their required building permits, the 8-foot wall be constructed prior to storage at any time, prior to the special exception being used, the minimum height of equipment or vehicles to be stored on the inside of the 8-foot wall would be 13 feet 6 inches, and that the property, if the property is sold to the applicant, that the former special exception for automobile sales would be revoked. So I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant and their representative is here. I will take it back to our site plan here and just reiterate one more item. So you can see our entrance here. They've removed the fence. There was a retaining wall there. There is currently a retaining wall there. They've kind of opened it up for a more inviting, less restrictive look, which also will create through access for their storage pods and any other users. Oh, the front access, the front parking would also be used for the tenants of the office building, not for display or storage. So on the frontage of US 1, that would just be parking. They are increasing the landscaping in the islands that are currently vacant of landscaping, I guess. There's not really an opportunity to increase the landscaping I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, you've seen it so many times. It does have that exfiltration system already underneath this parking lot. So, but they do plan to enhance the areas that are able to be enhanced. So with that, any questions?
Okay, thank you for your briefing there, Ms. Doster. Is there any member of the commission have a question? I'll start with the Vice Mayor.
None.
Commissioner McGurk.
Hi, Stephanie.
Good evening.
Thank you for the report. So, been pretty frustrated with this property, obviously, and we keep, I mean, I can't tell you how many times something's come before us that we've approved, and it looks like it does. Still, so for a few technical questions, you refer to 13 feet 6 inches for equipment. What's equipment?
So if they were to rent the space to someone maybe who has a ladder truck or some other vehicle
High reach.
for storage, yeah. So that nothing that could be stored back there could be taller than 13 feet 6 inches, which I guess is a bridge clearance height.
So
and
it
that
seems,
was
my concern is it's like, I'm not actually, it kind of seems like a flea market of potential uses on this property. So that's why what I'm trying to do is kind of narrow down and get an understanding of what the property is actually going to be used for. But so the equipment, it could be high reaches, construction equipment, so on and so forth.
Not over 13 feet 6 inches.
Okay.
That's not the main intent for this property. They, like I showed before, they do have a storage pod company, but given this is such a large space, if they have additional use for that beyond the storage pods to utilize that rear parking.
So the storage pods, they can't stack them.
I do not believe they stack. They have air conditioning units on them.
But they wouldn't be able to stack them if they could. It's going to
They
sit
would
at
not
8 feet.
because they would exceed the height limit.
Okay, and what was the front yard setback? You said 30 feet from the wall that they were going to
The wall
create?
was proposed at 30 feet from the front.
So can you go back a slide or so that shows the front of, yeah. So this is the property. Where is the actual wall they're talking about building?
To the right,
So it's not across the whole property?
it's not across the whole property. It's going to be set back and kind of divided up, as you see here.
Okay,
And
so as this little rendering shows, that's essentially what they're going to be doing.
that is their proposed
The
plan.
main office building is, the property's going to be fixed up. I know the landscaping requirements, those also can hinder because it can be oppressive, but they're going to, what are they going to do to fix up the property? What is required?
So they're actually, I didn't mention this, the lights that are on the parking lot, they will be swapping out the bulbs for LEDs and then minimizing the amount that are there so it does not resemble a used car lot. They'll be painting the building, and then currently that building, the facade is fully block. They're putting in that storefront glass with a door to make it more welcoming, like this is the only place that you're supposed to enter. Make it more of a focal point as opposed to a hodgepodge.
So
Even though there will be multiple uses on the property. The main use are the storage pods behind the fence. The other uses are secondary to that, so they'll have office space that they can rent out for folks that just need an office or...
Okay, so looking at this rendering, I would love if the applicants did something even close to that. That's great, that's beautiful. What happened at Suncoast Roofing? Suncoast Roofing, the first thing he promised, I'm not gonna put any inventory out in the parking lot. What's the very first thing that Rick did when he got the property? He built a stockade fence in the front of the property and stuck a bunch of high reaches and all his inventory there. After saying it's so I'm a little,
I
little gun
understand.
shy about making sure that we're gonna get something now. Obviously, I want something to go there because as it looks now, it's probably worse than anything.
Right.
So I like that rendition. If it looks anything like that, that'll be fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie.
Sure.
Mr. Martin.
Yeah, well, I have two things. One is just, I have some concerns about us expending CRA money along US 1, and then it feels sort of self-defeating to use special exception for uses when it is not part of our plan for the overall view of US 1. So that is a concern I have. And the question I have is, what's our recourse? So we say, sure, this is great, let's do it. and we go out there in 2 or 3 months, and it's not anything like this. We've been down this path before, where we get all these grandiose promises. I want to know what our recourse is. What happens if they don't do what they have here? Do we make them tear it down? Do we, yeah, I mean, what are our, you know, what is our recourse for broken promises?
Do you have that, or is that
Well,
legal?
I just was going to mention, so the special exception use is listed in this zoning district. So, you know, they've looked at the zoning and said, this could be an appropriate use in this area with certain conditions. So to say it's inconsistent with the CRA, you know, we'd have to change our zoning code for that. Now, the site plan the special exception approval on the list of conditions says it would lapse in 2 years if it's not developed. So the standard in the LDRs is 1 year, so if it's not developed in 1 year. But we, you know, this is just approval of a use on the property. You're not being promised this picture.
This proposal can't go anywhere unless we approve one predicated on the other. So if we don't approve the special exception tonight, my understanding is that this particular site plan would be void and moot, you know, just void, moot, whatever. So I'm just saying, you know, we're going out of our way to go ahead and approve a special exception. I would like to know what recourse we have if they don't do their part of the bargain.
Their special exception use approval would lapse. You're not approving a site plan tonight, it's just the use.
Yeah, I mean, what this is up here, this is.
How many times have we seen?
All the time.
Yeah, right, you understand my concern.
I totally get it. And at this point, you know, we hope we get something good, but.
So maybe this will help. I think, is there a timeline that can be written in when they must act?
Yes.
What's in there right now?
They're requesting 2 years.
No, how about a year? That's in my view. And then
they're welcome to
revocation
come up
doesn't,
and-
I don't think you can revoke after you do it, but we do have code enforcement. And isn't that a technique that we can, and then there are fines if you don't comply, right?
If they're in violation of the code, so if this becomes a part of the approved site plan and they don't maintain it, then yes, there would be code enforcement.
The issue with the timing, right now, it's as bad as it gets.
Is what?
Bad.
Right now, it's as bad as it gets. And I would love to say that, you know, this property is highly desired. It's not, and that's why it's been sitting there forever. So I'm not against giving them the 2 years. You know, we're kind of stuck with, we can't require a site plan that is what that we're going to approve necessarily. So let me just, giving them the 2 years is fine. I think, you know, the land has a certain zoning on it. The LDR requirements are what's important. And staff knows the LDR, the requirements and what they can have them do. The problem with US 1 is what we want and what we can get, a lot of times it's two different things, particularly because the challenges of those old properties on US 1. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, but we have so many times, oops, oh, they built that instead of what we were giving them a permit to build. Oh, golly gee williker, pay us $5 and all's well. And we have a big history for that. And so I, particularly as we are trying to work through to a ever better US 1, I would just like some leverage to have a proposal that looks anything like, you know, they're asking for the special exception, fine, but we are entertaining it based on a commitment to improve that area. And nobody seems to have a good answer of what we do if they say, well, we changed our minds.
So that's not part of the review criteria?
I hear you, I hear you.
And this is a quasi judicial item, so we need to base the decision on the applicable criteria.
And I know emotionally what you're saying, but they have certain requirements that they have to meet. That's not debatable. Staff gets the whole of that. It's just the issue is what we would like to see isn't necessarily what we're always going to get. But in this case, let me go. It started with the 2 years. I don't mind the 2 years because it's tough to deal with the governmental regulations, getting the financing. A lot goes into any kind of commercial project, and so I don't mind the 2 years.
Wait a minute, could you tell us again what the 2 years encompasses?
Really, the 2 years is to act on the special exception.
So it's only to act on this special exception, it has nothing to do with executing the site plan?
Correct. If they do not act on the special exception that you're approving for outdoor storage, then it would expire. And if they would like to come back with that use again, they'd have to reapply for a special exception.
That doesn't mean that they have to complete. That just means they have to get started in 2 years.
No, or in 1 year.
Correct.
I would love it to be a year, and I know, Jason, you're being kind, but
Well, no, I understand. So it's they have to get started.
Well, they have to act on the actual special exception, which means they need to put that 8-foot wall up and they need to put something stored on the property.
Okay. So that's a little different in the context. So I'm comfortable with a year on that if you.
Okay. Commissioner Perrine? No? All right. I favor the 1 year because I want to see some progress and movement. I think I've asked coaching from the city attorney and the city manager. They say 1 year, anything less than that would be harsh treatment. The revocation, I don't think we can get. I like Commissioner Martin's idea to do that, but I don't see that. But enforcement, one more time, square me away on this. We had code compliance, and so if they don't get started, they can be fined.
No. So if they don't get started, the use goes away.
In a year?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
I think the only thing that would be code enforceable is if the landscaping was removed or died, then we could ask them to replace or upgrade the landscaping.
Very good.
Anything else that's code enforceable, like dilapidated property.
Really good. Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it. Is the applicant in the room? Would the applicant like to speak? We've been talking bad about you.
Good evening. Josh Wells, for the record, Josh Wells, 340 North Causeway. I'm the attorney here for the contract purchasers who are here tonight. So if we have specific questions, I'm sure they would love to come up and meet you all. I will vouch for them. They're great people. I believe the rendering that you're looking at up there was prepared for what they want to do for the property, not so much for this presentation. And as you heard from staff in their presentation, what they're essentially trying to do is expand their existing business down in Edgewater. During the recent hurricanes, there was a lot of need for air-conditioned storage, climate-controlled storage like that. The on-site delivered pods offered a really good business model for them, but a resource for people who needed that. So the expansion is a direct result of the increase in the need for that sort of thing in our area, especially with our propensity to get hit by hurricanes. As far as the operation of the special exception and the implementation of it versus how long it's lasting, I'd like to get some clarification on that. Because I'll let them come up here and speak if you'd like, but they're ready to go to get this project started right away. I know you're saying you've heard that before. You haven't heard it from them, so I would ask you to treat them as individuals. But as far as the special exception, I'm fine with putting a 1 year period of implementation on it. I believe they are as well. Like I said, they're ready to go. My question is the special exception itself.
Runs with the land,
Okay, so it's not going to have an expiration period.
unless they don't establish it.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, the intent there was simply to, because we've had, probably 5 different special exceptions come before us on this property. And it just sits there. So what we're trying to do is say, look, we'll give you this special exception, but show us you're going to actually do it, get moving on it. That's all we're saying.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe they have an issue with that at all.
Any member of the commission have a question for the council for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commission will now hear from members of the public wish to comment in favor of or opposed to the special exception for application number 5-23. Seeing none, the quasi-judicial hearing is now closed. Any closing remarks from the city staff?
Just in working with this couple, you know, they are local. They've been really energetic about this and passionate about our community. So I'm excited that they'll move forward positively for our community.
Thank you for your comments. Any closing comment from the applicant? Or their representative? Okay, thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve special exception application number 5-23 submitted?
To approve with one change, we're going to make the special exception for 1 year instead of 2 years.
There's a motion?
Question.
We will after we have a second.
Second.
Second, discussion?
Does the motion include, including the staff?
Of course, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to have that on the record.
A motion and a second.
So,
Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I would offer an amendment to your motion, is that they have 1 year from the time the permit is issued. Given our permitting history, you know, I don't want us to hold them back and then it come back to us. So, you know, 1 year from the time the permit
That's
is
helpful. Would you like to change your motion?
Calling out the
Collard groans.
That's fine. I'll amend it from 1 year from when the permit is issued.
And is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Been
I'm
approved.
optimistic. Our permits are in 1 day, so I'm not worried about it.
Very good. Okay.
Could I just ask you a question?
Oh, of course.
Sure. Okay. I believe there can be a vast difference of time between a permit being issued, actually, and any work started. Permits expire, permits this, that, and the other. So I'm just a little,
I think what...
That's a statement, not a question.
well, I'm asking if it's a valid
I think what
concern.
Vice Mayor suggested, that it's from the time the permit is issued. So that's what he said. So from the time the permit is issued, if it's issued today, then that's when the clock starts kicking. So
Okay.
if they take a year to start, then they'll be their fault.
Okay. Public hearing will be conducted. Consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding annexation of property at 1309 Finley Street. Madam City Attorney, would you please read the ordinances number 6623, 6723, and 6823 for a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 6623, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .12 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Finley Street, west of Old Mission Road, addressed as 1309 Finley Street, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 6723, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .12 plus or minus acres of land located on the north side of Finley Street, west of Old Mission Road, addressed as 1309 Finley Street, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 6823, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .12 plus or minus acres of property located on the north side of Finley Street, west of Old Mission Road, addressed as 1309 Finley Street, from Volusia County R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City R2A Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Reminder, this is a public hearing. And so Senior Planner Bob Mathan, we're ready for your report, sir. Thanks, Bob, for being here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So the property owners requested a voluntary annexation, comprehensive plan amendment, and rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of urban medium intensity and a Volusia County zoning designation for R4 urban single family residential with an A attached for the airport height notification zone to a compatible future land use of the city of medium density residential and a compatible zoning for city of R2 single family residential with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 0.12 plus or minus acres. It is located on the north side of Finley Street, west of Old Mission Road, addressed as 1309 Finley Street. At the regular meeting for Planning and Zoning Board on September 11th, they voted 7-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the requested overall annexation application, and staff also recommends the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amending the future land use to city medium density residential and rezoning to city R2 single-family residential with an A attached for the height notification zone. And that's a summary of the staff report. Subject to any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for Mr. Mathan? Thank you very much for your report, sir. Are there any citizens that would like to speak, either opposed or for this? Please approach the podium now. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there a motion? Is there any discussion on it? Annexation. Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay. Okay. So is there a motion to approve and adopt ordinance 6623?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
She's not here.
Sorry. Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Motion's adopted. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 6723?
Motion to adopt ordinance 6723.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, so 6723 is. Is there a motion for
Motion to adopt
6823, please?
6823.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes,
Thank you.
adopted. And now we will conduct a public hearing to consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding annexation of property located at 1631 Martin Dairies Road. Madam City Attorney, would you please read number 6923, 7023, and 7123 for the second time by title only?
Ordinance number 6923, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing 3 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, addressed as 1631 Martins Dairy Road, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, provided for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 7023, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 3 plus or minus acres of land located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, addressed as 1631 Martins Dairy Road, from Volusia County rural to city rural, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 7123, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 3 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, north of Turnbull Bay Road, addressed as 1631 Martins Dairy Road, from Volusia County A3A Transitional Agriculture Airport Overlay to City A3A Transitional Agriculture Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Senior planner is here. Mr. Mathan, we're ready for you, sir.
Yes, sir. So the property owners requested a voluntary annexation, comprehensive plan amendment, and rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of rural and a Volusia County zoning designation of A3 transitional agriculture with an A attached for the airport height notification zone to compatible city future land use designation of rural and a city zoning designation of A3 transitional agriculture with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 3.1 plus or minus acres. It's located on the east side of Martins Dairy Road, east of Pioneer Trail, addressed as 1631 Martins Dairy Road. At the regular scheduled meeting on September 11th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 7-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the requested overall annexation application. Staff also recommends the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, amending the future land use to city rural and rezoning to city A3, transitional agriculture with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. And that is a brief summary of the staff report, subject to any questions the Commission may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Mathan? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your report. The public hearing is now open. Are there any citizens who wish to speak on this topic? Please approach the podium and be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now closed. The public hearing is closed. Commission will now consider the adoption of each ordinance. Is there a motion for 6923?
Motion to approve 6923.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 7023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 7123?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Motion carries. And now we'll conduct a public hearing to consider the adoption of the following ordinances regarding annexation of the property located on Dolores Street. If the city attorney would please read ordinance number 7223, 7323, and 7423 for the second time by title only, please.
Ordinance number 7223, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .6 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Dolores Street, north of Page Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 7323, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .6 plus or minus acres of land located on the west side of Dolores Street, north of Page Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 7423, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .6 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Dolores Street, north of Page Avenue, from Volusia County R4A, urban single-family residential airport overlay, to city R2A, single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Senior Planner, Mr. Mathan, your report, sir.
Yes, sir. So the property owners have requested a voluntary annexation, comprehensive plan amendment, and rezoning from Volusia County future land use designation of urban medium intensity and a Volusia County zoning designation of R4 urban single-family residential with an A attached for the airport height notification zone to a compatible city future land use designation of medium density residential and a city zoning designation of R2 single-family residential with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. The site contains approximately 0.575 plus or minus acres. It's located on the west side of Dolores Street, north of Page Avenue. At the regular scheduled meeting on September 11th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 7-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the requested overall annexation application. Staff also recommends the City Commission to approve the requested annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amending the future land use to city medium-density residential and rezoning to city R2 single-family residential with an A attached for the airport height notification zone. And that's a brief summary of the staff report. Subject to any questions the Commission may have.
Any questions for Mr. Mathan? Thank you, Bob. Appreciate your time and your report. Public hearing is now open. Are there any citizens who wish to speak on this matter? Please approach the podium and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 7223?
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Martin, a second by
Second.
Commissioner Hartman. And Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 7323?
Motion to adopt ordinance 7323.
Second.
And there's a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 7423?
Motion to adopt ordinance 7423.
There's a motion. Is there a second? And a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Thank you very much. That concludes the second readings. We'll move on to ordinances in the first reading. The city attorney will read each of the following ordinances under the first reading for the first time by title only. Second readings and public hearings will be conducted during the 14 November 2023 regular city commission meeting.
Ordinance number 7523, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .3 plus or minus acres of property located on the northeast corner of Spruce Street and Enterprise Avenue, addressed as 1409 Enterprise Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be November 14, 2023. Ordinance number 7623, ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .3 plus or minus acres of property located on the northeast corner of Spruce Street and Enterprise Avenue, addressed as 1409 Enterprise Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be November 14, 2023. Ordinance number 7723, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .3 plus or minus acres of property located on the northeast corner of Spruce Street and Enterprise Avenue, addressed as 1409 Enterprise Avenue, from Volusia County R4A urban single-family residential airport overlay to City R2A single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be November 14, 2023.
Well done. Thank you very much, ma'am. Let's move on to to section 11, the boards and commissions. The Animal Control Board is up. We would consider the reappointment of one member to serve a 2-year term expiring on September 13th, 2025. Madam City Clerk, have you got a report?
Yes, good evening. There are actually, there's one person on the board, Dana Hoffman, that is up for consideration. She has served a partial term already. She is an animal owner. She does want to be reconsidered for appointment consideration. There's another vacancy by Kelly Myers. He is a non-animal owner on this board, but he's recently purchased a pet, so he doesn't fit that criteria anymore. We did not receive any applications. We don't have any applications from any non-animal owners. So tonight, this evening, I'm just asking for consideration to reappoint Ms. Dana Hoffman.
I'm sure there was logic somewhere in appointing a non-animal owner, but to remove someone because they are from an animal board, this is kind of fun.
Scrooge. All right. Thank you very much, Kelly. Is there a motion to reappoint Dana Hoffman to serve a second 2-year term expiring September 13th, 2023?
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Who was the seconder? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Martin.
Okay. Commissioner Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes. Congratulations, Ms. Hoffman. The City Clerk's office will send you official notification. Thank you for your continued service. And now we have the opportunity to consider 3 openings on the Planning and Zoning Boards to serve 3-year terms expiring October 31st, 2026. We have the opportunity to consider them all in one group. We have 3 positions to fill, and amongst the candidates are 2 returning members. So there are a total of 27 applications to fill those 3 spots. Madam City Clerk, any report?
Yes, good evening. We advertised for this position. We have 27 applicants. There were about 10 to 13 new applicants, but we call all of the people that have submitted applications over the last 3 years. That's how long we are required to keep them on file. Most of the people said yes, they would like to be considered for this appointment request. Tonight, there are 2 members of that board that have served 1 term, and there's also a vacancy from the chair that has declined kindly for reappointment. She served her 2nd term, that's Sandra Smith. So it's up to commission's pleasure. If you wanted to vote for all 3, I have the ballots.
Wonderful. Yep.
Each-
Without objection, we'll consider them all in one group.
I mean, all 3 vacancies?
All 3 vacancies
And
in
then
one group.
consider all 27 up for?
Yes, based on your nominations as a commission.
So if you'll just bear with me.
Yeah.
Because there are so many. There's 3 sets of ballots. If you're going to do it that way, each commissioner can nominate up to 3 out of the 27 people. What I'll do is I'll highlight them on your ballots.
As we nominate them, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, very
So
good.
that I can mark it, and the highlighted ones are the ones that you would be voting on.
Perfect. Are there nominations?
So how many can we get each one? I'm
3.
sorry.
3 apiece.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Bledsoe, Weiss, and Anglin.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Bledsoe, Terry Bledsoe, Brooks Weiss, and Anglien. Okay? And while I appreciate Mr. Yates' desire to continue serving, we know that this board requires a lot of time and deliberation, and based on attendance records, I'm concerned that the time commitment is a little much for him. Mr. Yates, I'm just letting
Any other-
why
Does he
I
have
have
a?
Yep, he testified before because of a death in the family, why he missed so much, so that, just to remind everybody. Any other nominations?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to nominate William Yerkes, Colleen Sharkey, and David McKenna.
Got those, city clerk, those 3 of those?
Yep, Sharkey and McKenna.
Yep.
I'm gonna do Yates, Frank Dalton, and Stonebreaker.
I need just one moment.
Take your time. No, we're not in a rush here. I know that's hard to write, say them again, please, Commissioner McGurk.
Kelly, just let me know when you're ready.
All right.
And you don't have to have them all done at once, Kelly.
I know, just give me 1 second. All right. I have Anglin, Bledsoe, McKenna, Sharkey, Yerkes, Weiss, Yates, and who else?
Those include yours,
Well,
Jason.
I did Yates, Stonebreaker, and Dalton.
Okay.
Vice Mayor.
So I'm going to add Mr. Bean.
Okay. Any
Good.
other nominations?
Yes, Mr. Hall and Bean, did you add that, Randy? You added Bean?
Yeah.
I'll add Mr. Hall.
hope I understand this ballot when I get it.
She's going to highlight them, but we get to pick three.
You don't get that many people run for commission.
No.
Step up, step up.
You may have to help her.
So.
Okay. Confirming one last time, this is who I have. William Anglin, Thomas Bean, Terry Bledsoe, Frank Dalton, John Hall, David McKenna, Colleen Sharkey, Ralph Stonebreaker, William Yerkes, Brooks Weiss, Stephen Yates. Okay.
Yeah, just verifying, Bledsoe, Weiss, and Englund?
Bledsoe, Weiss, and, I'm sorry, who?
Anglin, the
William
first one.
Anglin,
Yes.
A-N-G-L-I-N, okay. Thank you.
Official function of the assistant city manager. ballot.
select three out
of the highlighted.
Be careful, I'm from Chicago.
Vote thrice and vote often.
They tend to take up a lot of space, considering how small I am.
So Mayor, if I can have a point of personal privilege?
Yes, sir, please.
Jesse, 60 years ago on October 13th, what famous musician first took the stage? 60 years ago.
Carlos Santana.
Eric Clapton.
No lie.
60. Whoa, mama.
60. I don't know, but he was with the Yardbirds at the time.
Slow.
What's his nickname? I didn't hear.
Slow hand.
Slow.
That makes sense. He's got it's a song. He's got a song.
See, Stephanie, you hang out late with us, we're pretty fun.
So 61 years ago, this month, including this week, was the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Another time when our world was very tense, similar to what's going on right now in the world.
It's about to get a little intense, I have a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. My personal favorite at the moment is August 18th, 1920. That's when Congress ratified women's right to vote, August 18th.
1920.
Wow. Our history is hard to imagine sometimes. Hard to imagine.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So-
the other side of it is that we don't
Might need your
celebrate.
help with this.
We celebrate all kinds of things, but we
Okay.
don't notice.
Final tallies are that Bean had 3, which was the highest.
That's a majority, right?
Right, and then we have 1, 2, 3 applicants, McKenna, Hall, Yates, with 2 votes. So you,
Good to go again,
we would have to
and you can pick 2.
go again. Yes, I can, if it is your pleasure, you can say that Bean is in, and then I can take the 2s, McKenna, Hall, Yates, highlight those, and then you would have to pick from those 2 since they were the next ones. They all had 2.
There are only 2 openings, and we're only picking 2? that how that works?
Yeah, there's three.
Doesn't
No,
seem
there's
right.
3 openings.
2 out of 3.
We just filled one.
So we now have 2 left.
Two openings, but she's only gonna give us 2 candidates?
I'm going to give you three
Three
that had
candidates.
2. So the ones that had 2 were McKenna, Hall, Yates. So you would have to select 2 out of those 3.
Perfect.
Since Bean had the most at 3 collectively. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to pass out ballot 2. So McKenna, McKenna, Hall, Yates.
Okay, hold on a second. Which, they're not highlighted this time.
Help!
Okay, I'm picking from Yates, Hall, 2 of the 3. Yates, Hall, and
McKenna.
McKenna, okay.
Yates, Hall, or McKenna.
Is Yerkes Yates?
No, 2 different people.
Okay,
I had the right hand.
okay.
Pick 2?
Can't find it. I'm looking for it. I can't see it.
You have to write Yates.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
you have to write
Okay.
Yates.
All right, collectively, McKenna had 2, Hall and Yates have 4. Last ballot, you're choosing, well, actually, never mind, excuse me, Hall and Yates are in. So it's Hall, Yates, and Bean.
Thank you, City Clerk.
Welcome.
I would like to congratulate Mr. Bien, Mr. Hall, and Mr. Yates. City Clerk's office will be in touch for your official notification. Thank you for stepping forward and serving your city. Thank you very much. We have 9 minutes to conduct the rest of the business unless we move to continue. I'll move on to the commissioner reports at this time. Commissioner Perrine.
The only thing I wanted to mention is I went to the first homeless shelter meeting last night. And please mark your calendar for February 3rd, 6 p.m. New Smyrna Beach needs to make a good representation there for their fundraisers. And I'll be selling tickets and tables. So
What was it? I'm sorry.
it's a fundraiser in Daytona Beach at the Hilton at the Oceanfront Resort for the First Step Homeless Shelter, February 3rd at 6 p.m. And please see me and anyone you know in New Smyrna that would like to support this wonderful cause, please see me.
Is there
Thank you for doing
an event, a table or anything?
We're going to sell tables. The tables will be 8 to 10 people, and the tickets are also for sale.
You can count me in for a chair, not a table.
Well,
I can fund a chair, not a table.
maybe we can talk the city into funding
Yeah,
a table
maybe we
for
could talk
us.
to the city about buying a table since we're now new members.
Most of the cities do fund a table, so
Yeah,
we may have
perfect.
to vote on that.
Commissioner Martin.
A quick shout out to our fire department crew at Station 50. Was honored to spend a few hours there learning so much about operations and having a dinner worthy of Food Network competitions. And I much appreciated the education. We all seemed to be, let me rephrase this. I would like to see if I could get commission census to move forward on paid parking. We all wanted to take action quickly, and the fastest thing we can do is expand paid parking on Canal and Flagler. Would there be any interest in the commission to saying, let's move forward on this now?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I have a bias for action as well. I don't know what the logical path to get there, and I would like to get guidance from those that have come before and the city manager if we wanted to move forward. And I love the idea of getting some traction.
So I'm gonna chime in here because I was on the commission when we started the paid parking. And I'm also the commissioner who made the motion so that our residents wouldn't pay, which of course got totally hijacked in Volusia County. But Khalid gave a projection of $350,000. And there were some on the commission who thought it was absolutely ridiculous to think that we would get $350,000, especially, to get even close to that, it was a waste of time and money. And since we didn't charge our residents of Volusia County, this was just the most ridiculous thing in the world. And, you know, $1.4 million a year later, highly successful. So what I would recommend is the same exact concept. We can charge for parking on Canal and Flagler, and we do not charge our residents. Exempt the locals. Now, I think the reason everything got out of control a little bit with going from, Edgewater had a problem with it, then they brought the county council, it got messy. And the county had some money invested in the beach lots. I'm not so sure the county has money invested in. I'm not so sure that the same position can be taken with Canal and Flagler. However, even if it is, it's been very successful. So I would say we start there. And it's very palatable and digestible to our residents because they're not getting charged anything.
Yeah, we do want to be careful. We already have issues with employees who are also Volusia County residents taking up large amounts of the beachfront parking. So I'm not sure how we parse employees that are also residents, but I'm sure Khalid or somebody creative can figure this out. In any case, let's start moving forward.
So let's do it right. Is there a motion on that?
Can I clarify, because the task force recommendation was in the special parking districts of each of those streets, not on just the streets.
So it's on the side streets and stuff like that?
Correct. Whatever the boundaries of the special parking districts of the Flagler District and the Canal District, that was their recommendation.
May I suggest that we start with just the streets because that's really clear and we don't have to clean up anything.
Well, and when we get into the employees, listen, this is gonna this is gonna be a huge wrench. This is well intended. But what I wanna do is, I don't wanna make a motion to approve it to start it tomorrow. I wanna give commission, I wanna approve commission to start that process, because here's what's gonna happen. We have to deal with some of the issues with employees. Yeah, we can't just literally, as much as I would love to, we can't just literally upend that many people and business owners that quick.
No, I'm not saying, and I don't mean to imply that. I mean to direct staff to work out, top priority, let's get this moving on the streets to minimize You know, if that is, what is it, one of the presentations we saw, the most valuable hotspot curb parking, you know, let's start small and then move up from there.
City Manager, your guidance, please, sir.
I would support that motion.
Let me just caution, I mean, just through the years that we have done any program, if we don't get at least public inputs. So what's going to happen, I could tell you what's going to happen. If we do a paid parking and we waive it for New Smyrna Beach residents, that's mean the 2 hours and the 4 hours are gone. Then you're back to square one where employees are parking there all day and enforcement cannot do anything. So that's something to think about. So what's going to happen is you're going to take these parking spaces and you're going to have somebody who's going to park there for 8 hours and 9 hours a day. Now, my suggestion is let's just go back, think about it, talk to the parking enforcement, talk to the police, and just see what kind of program we could come up with before we rush into this decision here. I mean, that's just my suggestion. Whatever the commission wants, we'll follow. I'm just giving you what I've done in the past and that what we run into. What Commissioner McGurk mentioned about the charge for parking there. That's a whole different story there. But I think if you wanted to make the parking available on Flagler, I would not rush into this and say, hey, it's free for everybody. We have to think about it and see what we're going to do.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that input. Point of order, can we have a motion to extend to 11?
Motion to extend.
Is there a second? Really? It's 10:30. Is there a second? I'll second. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Breen,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
No.
Vice Mayor Hartman,
No.
Commissioner Martin,
No.
Mayor Cleveland.
No. Thank you for your evening. We are adjourned.